Kadaba, Pakistan. Evening of 20th day of capture. I didn't sleep as well last night because of my hunger, and I still have the headache and the stiffness. Damn, I'm pissed at Mustif, that son of a bitch. I can't stand it when women are mistreated, and it's even worse when they're young like Zarika. Ah, the guards are coming to take me to the cell. Damn, there are always 3 of them, and they always have rifles. It's useless for me to resist with those odds. My goal has to be to survive and look for an opportunity to escape. I need to talk to Zarika and see what her plan is. Great, she's back with them today, but won't look me in the eyes. She's still embarrassed. The guards took me down to my cell and tied me to the chair. Zarika left and came back with our food. I said, Zarika, don't be embarrassed. Mustif is a shithead and I'm going to kill him someday. She finally looked at me and said, I hate him and Hussein so much. They took me away from my home and killed my whole family. I know that if we don't escape soon Hussein will give me to his men, and then the rats will eat me. Please can't you help me escape and take me to America with you? I keep looking for a chance to escape, I said, but they always watch me with 3 guards. If they were gone then I could kill Mustif and we could escape. Can you figure out some way to get the guards to leave me alone with just Mustif? I have some ideas, she said. We talked for the rest of the day trying to make plans. Mustif never showed up to torture me. At the evening before the guards came to take me up to the bed I asked Zarika, so where's Mustif today? I'm not sure. I'll see if I can find out tonight from Hussein, she said and then looked at the floor and continued. You do know that Mustif was right, I love you, but I know from the way you talk about your Yints that you love her and only her. Since you can't love me like your wife, could you at least love me like your sister? She looked up at my eyes and was crying. I said, I've always wanted a little sister and now I finally have one. She smiled at me as the 3 guards took me back up to my bed and tied me down for the night. Time to dream about my Yints. Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii, Tuesday, day 18. It was different sleeping last night with Yints spooning me instead of me spooning her, but this damn cast is driving me crazy and I didn't sleep worth shit. I need to do something about this. I need to get this damn cast off. I slipped out of the bed and into my old bedroom without waking Yints. Sometimes I'm glad she's a heavy sleeper. Where's my extra caber? Ah, there it is. Now I need to be careful so I don't slice up my arm. Ah shit, Yints just came in and caught me. Hey Jarhead, what the hell do you think you're doing with that caber? It better be picking your teeth and not trying to take that cast off. Yints said with a pissed look in her eyes as she snatched the caber out of my hand. This damn cast is driving me crazy. I said, not as crazy as I'll drive you if you try taking that off again. The doctor said the cast needs to stay on for at least a week and I'm gonna make sure you listen to the doctor, for once in your life. Damn, sometimes you act just like a little kid. Try it again and I might have to spank you. Yints lectured me. But, I said. Yints interrupted. No buts about it. Do I need to call daddy? Damn, I didn't like being lectured by Yints, and I guess she was right. Besides, she really could call the general, and no one can chew but better than he can. I looked up at her. I guess you're right. But do you have any way of making this damn cast so it isn't so itchy? Of course, my love. Follow me back to my bathroom. Yints said as she walked away. I followed her. At least the view was good. When we got to the bathroom, she pulled out some baby powder, put it at the edge of the cast, and gently blew it up inside. It felt wonderful. Now we can't do this very often because of your abrasions, but this should help for a while. Also, mister, I'd better not catch you trying to stick anything up your cast to scratch your arm. If you do that, it'll just cause an infection. Yints said, now come back to bed with me and let me cuddle with you. I was thinking as she spooned me. Damn, sometimes it's nice being taken care of, but other times it's a real pain in the butt. I hate being treated like a whip dog. Yints snuggled even closer to me and said, sorry, my fiancé, for yelling at you and treating you like a whipped dog. I just love you, and I don't want to see you hurt yourself. Your arm has a minor injury now, but if you take off the cast and break your arm the rest of the way, you'll be in a cast for at least a month. Shit, I forgot that she could feel my feelings, and as usual, she was right. I brought her hand to my mouth and started kissing her fingers and said, damn it. Sometimes I really hate it that you're almost always right. Get used to it, my bin. After all, I'm the brains of this outfit. You'll do great today at the pistol competition, only using your left arm. She answered. It was going to screw me up big time, especially on the defensive portion of the course. I couldn't move as well with it on and tactical reloads would be hard. At least the rifle part was done. I don't know if I could shoot with this cast. And Friday would be hell at the snipe off. Shit, I could imagine what it would be like being out in the field with this on. Yints said, I'll make a deal with you. If you don't screw around with that cast, and you know what I mean, we'll see if the doctor will take it off Thursday night so that you can do the snipe off without it. However, he might say it needs to go back on Friday after the competition. If he does, you're going to listen to him this time. I thought about it and said, that seems okay with me. Yin's squeezed me tight and said, that's the bin that I know and love. I turned over and gave her a great good morning kiss. Wow, that was some kiss, mister. What's that for? Yin's asked. For taking good care of me even when I was being stupid and for apologizing for treating me like a whipped dog. I answered. So, the kiss was sort of like makeup sex without the sex? I can only imagine how much better it will be with the sex part. Maybe when that happens I'll even start fights so that we can have makeup sex. Yin's asked, batting her violet eyes. I of course blushed and said, I know, you don't have to say it. We both laughed. Stay in bed, my dear, and I'll bring you breakfast in bed. Yin's said as she hopped out of the bed. I waited until she was in the kitchen and of course started screwing with the cast. She yelled from the kitchen, hey, if you don't think I can feel that you screwing with that cast, then you're crazy. Leave that damn thing alone, or I'll come in there and tie your right arm down to the bed. Shit, I hated the thought of being tied up, and she just might try to do that. From the kitchen I heard, you're damn right. I'll come back in there and do that. Why don't you read your book to take your mind off of things? That was the best idea I'd heard all morning. I'd finished the Clive Cussler book and was a bit disappointed. I had read every one of his books, and this one had a major mistake in it. So I opened up a new Kai-Star novel that I'd bought about an Old West gunslinger kid named Josh Love. It was called Rustler's Revenge, and started reading. The cast was still bothering me, so I kept messing with it some. 5 minutes later, Yin's came in with breakfast and my eyes nearly bugged out of my head. She'd take off all her clothes. Well, I'm happy to see that at least I can distract you from that cast. I was beginning to think you didn't love me anymore. Yin said, faking her pout. Now be my good Marine and eat your breakfast while I get cleaned up. I already ate in the kitchen. Since the brawn of this outfit is disabled, the beauty and the brains need to pick up the slack. And for the last time, leave that frickin' cast alone. I can feel it every time you screw with it, and it drives me crazy. And you don't want to see what happens when I get too crazy. She kissed me on the lips and danced into the bathroom singing. She was singing so loud I could even hear her in the shower. I can see you without even looking. I can hear you, and you don't have to make a sound. I can feel you without even touching. I am near you even when you're not around. I guess I'm crazy about you, boy. I guess I'm crazy about you, boy. Guess I'm crazy, yeah. On a crowded street there is no one. Only you and me, if only in my heart. This feeling can't be beat. Loving you so fun, so fun. A fire burns in me. I don't need a flame to start it. I guess I'm crazy about you, boy. I guess I'm crazy about you, boy. Guess I'm crazy, yeah. I guess there are worse things in the world than being crazy about someone. I sure as hell knew that I was crazy about her. Breakfast was great. Damn, Yin's has taken good care of me since the fight and my injury. She really has spoiled me. Thanks for all the good thoughts, my love. I wondered if you were crazy for me? Yin's said with a big smile as she walked out of the shower. Yin's, it seems like you're more in tune to my feelings than ever. What's going on? I asked. I'm not sure, but I do know when you got hurt I felt the pain too. And I can definitely feel it when you screw with your cast. It's like my feeling detector for you has been cranked to high. Perhaps it's some sort of protection mechanism. She answered. Well, I wondered if I could still hide some of my feelings from her. So I decided to think about curves, and yes, she couldn't feel that. Phew. I was pretty worried that I couldn't block my feelings, but I felt better now knowing that I could. Well, my love, are you ready for your shower? Yin's asked. We have a cast cover to keep your cast from getting wet, and I'll scrub your back for you. I wasn't sure about this. About Yin's helping me shower, it was a little embarrassing. Hey, it's not like I haven't seen it before, she said. Besides, you know we're waiting until we're married. You know, I really can do all this myself. I answered. Of course you could, but it'll be easier if I help. And I promise that I will be a very good girl, Yin said. And again I was shocked. Yin's helped me out of my clothes and put the cast cover on. She walked me into her bathroom. Damn, there wasn't nearly as much crap in the bathroom as my ex used to have. Hey, I felt that. Of course I don't need as much crap to make myself beautiful as that 304 did, Yin's said in a testy voice. I had to think fast. Of course not, my dear, you're much more beautiful than she was. And that comment saved the day and earned me the only kiss of my shower time. Yin's got the water temperature perfect for me, soaped up a washcloth and handed it to me. I closed the shower door and she patiently waited until I finished the parts one could get to. Then she washed my back, and it felt great. She kept her word and was a very good girl, even when she helped to dry me off. Wait right here, my dear, while I go and get your underwear and uniform, Yin's said and dashed into my old bedroom. A couple minutes late, she came in and helped me get dressed. Again, she was being a perfect angel. There now, wasn't that nice? She asked. I looked down at the floor a little bit sad. Hey, what the hell is wrong? She asked me. It was wonderful, but But you didn't fool around any and I sort of missed it. I answered. She grabbed me and gave me a smoldering hot kiss. After it was done, she answered, "Believe me when I tell you it was damn hard not to, but I promised you that I wouldn't and I always keep my promises. Don't worry, my love. Helping you this morning has made me hotter than ever." She swatted my butt and continued, "Let's get our Kimbers and head over to the pistol range. With that cast on, you'll need some practice." We went into the extra bedroom and I tried to help Yinz load up the Humvee. She wasn't having any part of that. "Ben, you're injured. You need to save your strength for the pistol range and for healing. You just sit your cute little butt in the Humvee and let me do everything this morning. And don't argue with me and don't screw with that cast." I went and sat in the front of the Humvee and of course started messing with the cast. There are times I like being taken care of, and there are times I don't. This was one of those times. Damn, she was making me feel like I was an invalid. She made the last trip out, jumped in the driver's seat, looked over at me and said, "Thanks, my love, for letting me take care of you. I know it's a pain in the butt. I don't know what's going on, but my maternal instincts are going crazy since you got hurt." I looked in her eyes and I could see the depth of her love for me. I needed to choose my answer wisely. "I know that you're trying to help me and keep me safe, and I do appreciate that, but you're a little over the top. Do you think you could tone it down some, especially in public?" And I held my breath waiting for her reply. She smiled and said, "Yeah, I guess I have been going overboard and I'm so sorry for that," gave me a kiss on the cheek and continued, "I'll do my best to tone it down, but you need to do your best to leave that damn cast alone." I thought, damn, that was easy. Why couldn't it be that easy with my ex or the other women I dated? Yinz said with some fire in her eyes because she knew what I had just felt. "Well, my love, that's because they were all selfish 304s that were only interested in what they could get out of a relationship, not what they could give. I'm not like them and never will be, so stop comparing me to them before I get really pissed." She started the Humvee and pulled out for the pistol range with our escort following. Yeah, she was right. Why did I always try to compare the incomparable with the lackluster and mundane? Sometimes I'm just too analytic and made a promise to myself to stop comparing Yinz with anyone else. She said again, knowing what I was feeling, "Damn straight, Marine. It's about time you realized I'm incomparable." I figured, damn, I'd better not think of anything right now unless it's Yinz or the weather, and that's what I did for the rest of the drive. As we pulled up, I told Yinz, "Don't give me any crap. I'm helping unload the gear." "Of course, my love. Whatever you say as long as you're leaving that cast alone," she replied. I wondered if screwing with the cast was really causing Yinz that much grief, and decided it might be a good idea to leave it alone. We hauled the gear over to our table, and then went over to talk to the press. By now, everyone had heard of our fight last night, and the reporters had a bunch of questions. For the most part, Yinz had become the de facto spokesperson for us, so she answered most of the questions until Ms. Morgan asked, "Ben, won't it be hard today to shoot with that cast on?" "Yes, it will. I'll have to use my left hand, but I'll try my best," I answered. Well, that was the understatement of the day, and I found it out the first time I fired my pistol. My balance was all off, and it was screwing me up big time. Even though I've worked on it, I'm still not as good with my left hand as I was with my right. I could still hit the target, but it was nothing like yesterday, and tactical reloads were a huge pain in the butt. I spent a bunch of time trying to get used to it, and was getting better. I looked at Yinz and said, "I really can't do this with the cast on. How about we take it off and then I put it back on at the end of the day?" The general, Dad, walked up behind and said, "That's not going to happen, Marine. I talked with the doctors, and they all agree that you need to keep that cast on for the whole week. The fracture, even though it is a green stick fracture, is quite severe. If you were to accidentally bang that arm, it would break completely, and then we'd be up shit creek, especially with your new orders." Both Yinz and I said, "What new orders?" Dad continued, "Normally I tell you this in my office, but I knew you two were busy, so I thought I'd come down and deliver the good news in person. I guess you haven't been watching the news because you thought it would be just about you two, but there are other things going on in the world. Things are really heating up in Iraq, and we need you two over there ASAP. But I also know that you two aren't ready quite yet. So first you're going to finish the sniper competition, then you're going to get part of 1 week off. Evelyn and I want you to spend 2 days with us at our house in Maryland, and then you get to spend a couple of days at your rebuilt cabin in Colorado. While you're there, we've arranged for some desert training at the Pinyon Canyon Training Grounds with Army Special Forces. After that, you ship out." Yinz started jumping up and down. "Oh goody, we finally get to do our real job. I was getting damn bored with all this training. And to tell the truth, I was looking forward to getting back overseas." Dad was right. We were ready other than just a little desert work, and it was going to be fun spending some time in Colorado again before we shipped out. Plus, we had never gone up against Special Forces, so that would be great practice. "Well," Dad said, "I'd love to stay and watch you too, but there's things I need to do. Try your best, son and daughter, and know we're proud of both of you." I needed some practice on the defensive pistol range, so I went over and waited my turn. My first time through was a disaster. I dropped the mag on my tactical reload and got killed by one of the targets. I went back to our table and was pissed. I reached for my caber and Yince showed up. Hey Jarhead, are you going to disobey a direct order from the general? I saw what happened on the tactical reload, and if you give me a chance I think I can help. She readjusted my extra mags and had me try the tactical reload several more times. It was still slow, but better, and at least I didn't drop the mag. Thanks Yince, that really helped. I said, earning one of her $1,000,000 smiles. All the other teams knew about my injury, and it was like sharks circling a wounded person in the water. They all smelled blood, and it had renewed their hoping in beating us. The entire psyche out work I did yesterday was worthless. I practiced as long as I could and gradually got better, but there were some great scores going up. The only good news was Yin's score was right up there with the best. Finally, I had no choice but to either qualify or drop out of the competition. I gave it my best, and today my best wasn't good enough. I qualified 5th in the accuracy and 8th in the defensive course. Yince was outstanding and qualified 2nd in both. Combined with our results from yesterday, Yince had a pretty big lead on everyone including me, and I had a very small lead on 3rd place. It was bittersweet. I was sad that I did so poorly but happy that Yince did so well. I decided that Yince needed her moment of glory more than I needed to mope, so I hid my disappointment and gave my love my total support. When we met back at our table, I picked up Yince and swung her around. I'm so damn proud of you today. You were exceptional and have a huge lead. And gave her a big kiss. Damn, swinging her made my arm hurt quite a bit. Maybe it's more messed up than I thought it was. What about you, my love? Damn, even shooting with your left arm combined with your score from yesterday, you still came in 2nd, she said with her usual exuberance. I'm so proud of you and wish that you could get lucky tonight. Well, my love, shall we go and talk to your press? It's your turn to shine like the diamond you really are. I answered. This time I did most of the talking, singing Yince praise to the press. She tried to downplay it, telling them we were a team, but I wasn't letting her get away with that bullshit. Ms. Morgan asked me, Bonsai, do you think you would have won today if your arm wasn't in a cast? I thought, what sort of stupid question was that? Ms. Morgan, I'm happy with my results today considering the circumstances. We are taught to deal with adversity and to adapt and overcome. Today I did the best that I could with the resources I had. I will not play what-if games. What I will do is deal with the adversity and work even harder tomorrow. I answered, and her question did light a fire in my belly. Shit, no feeling sorry about today. Time to kick butt tomorrow. Yince squeezed my arm, leaned over and whispered in my ear, Damn, I love it when you get fired up. People should know better than to piss off a Marine. As we walked back to the table, Yince asked, So, it hurts pretty bad right now? I laughed and replied, What, this little scratch? I hardly feel it. Yince stopped, spun, and faced me. Don't you ever lie to me again. You're lucky you're hurt, or I'd kick your butt. I told you I can feel your pain, and I know how bad it hurts. So don't give me that macho bullshit ever again. I expect the truth from you just like you expect the truth from me. Now, Jarhead, tell me how your arm feels. I told her the truth, and that made her feel better. Damn, she was a wildcat when she got pissed off. She was going to stop me from helping her load the Humvee, but the look I gave her told her she'd better not. There were some battles that she would never win. I opened the driver door for her, went around and got into my side and said, Yince, don't be alarmed, but I think you need to take me to the hospital. My arm has swollen inside this cast and is cutting off some of the circulation. That's why it's hurting so much. Shit, I didn't know a Humvee could move that fast. She went ripping out of the parking lot, almost running over a couple of the news crews and totally losing our escort. She said, Reach in my pocket and take out my mobile phone and call Daddy. Have him alert the guards at the gate and tell them I'm not stopping. Then get him to call the hospital and get the doctors ready. It was damn hard getting to the phone because she was driving the Humvee like it was a sports car, sliding around the corners and almost catching air over the bumps. I finally said, Damn it, Marine, I order you to slow down and drive this Humvee in the manner that it's meant to be driven before you kill both of us. And amazingly, she slowed up some, and she reached in her pocket, grabbed her phone and said, Make the damn calls or we'll get shot at the gate because I'm not stopping. I did make the calls and the guards opened the gate as Yince went flying through. She was still going over twice the posted limit on base, but at least I didn't feel like we were an accident waiting to happen. She flew over the speed bumps on the road to the hospital and slammed on the brakes, sliding to a stop in front of the emergency room, almost throwing me into the dash. Jumping out of the Humvee, she ran around to my side and almost sedate me into the ER. There wasn't a doctor waiting, and Yince became pissed. She walked up to the reception desk and yelled at the nurse, Where the hell is the goddamn doctor? I'm Sergeant Jennifer Donaldson. My father is General Donaldson, and my fiancé is having problems with his frickin' cast. We need to see a doctor now. Well, that lit a fire under some butts and got people moving. The nurse ran back and got the doctor. He came out and checked the peripheral circulation in my fingers and said, "Damn, we need to get this cast off now." They wheeled me back to the cast room, and the doctor didn't even wait for a nurse. He ran the cast saw himself. It felt so damn good to get the cast off. Almost all the pain went right away and the circulation returned to my fingers. The doctor looked at me and said, "How long had this cast been bothering you?" I answered, "It was bothering me this morning when I woke up." "Damn it, you stupid jarhead. You should have come in right away for us to remove it and replace it," the doctor said and kept examining my arm. After a few minutes he said, "Shit, you're lucky. I don't think you caused any permanent damage." But the arm looked even nastier than before. It was definitely bruised. I looked over at Yinz and she was silently crying in the corner. She mouthed the words to me, "I'm so sorry." I held out my left arm and motioned for her to come beside me. She flew to my side and started hugging me and stroking my head. The doctor ordered some more x-rays, and Yinz didn't want to leave me alone in the x-ray room, so they gave her a lead apron to wear. She was still pretty upset when she said to me, "Damn it. I'm so sorry I didn't listen to you this morning. I'm a real bitch." I spanked her hard on the butt with my left hand. "Hey, enough of that shit. It's my fault for not being able to figure out what I was feeling. I sure as hell don't need you getting all upset about this." Snap out of it, Marine. While we were waiting for the x-rays, the general, Dad, showed up. He had already talked to the doctor. "Shit, Ben. Why the hell didn't you do something about your arm this morning?" The doctor told me all about it and said that you should have been here hours ago. Yinz went to open her mouth, but I squeezed her arm, letting her know I wanted to talk. "Sorry, sir. I didn't realize it was so bad until Yinz rushed me here. It's entirely my fault, and I accept all responsibility for it," Dad continued. "We'll make sure the doctor doesn't release you until he shows you how to check your circulation." He motioned Yinz over to him, and they talked a while in private. While they were talking, the doctor came back with the x-rays and put them on the viewer. We all walked over to look at them. "Well, it looks about the same as yesterday. At least you didn't screw it up anymore. We're going to put a new cast on your arm, and then I'll show you how to check your peripheral circulation. If you feel anything like this again, get your butt here ASAP." Dad said his goodbyes, and Yinz came over and held me while they put the new cast on me. They were being much more careful about how tight they wrapped it this time. After they were done and the cast hardened, the doctor came in and showed both Yinz and I how to squeeze my fingernails and watch the blood flow back in to check the circulation. They were done and we headed out the door. I helped Yinz into the Humvee and jumped in the passenger side. Right after I closed the door, Yinz leaned over against me and started crying. "Damn, Ben. I'm so sorry. You were right about your arm, and I thought you were just acting up about having to wear the cast. How can you ever forgive me?" I turned her face towards me and lightly slapped it. "Hey, jarhead, quit blaming yourself for this. It's not your fault." Yinz looked shocked and then started laughing. "Damn, I'm not sure I like it when you turn the tables on me. Now I want a kiss on the cheek where you slapped me." I gladly kissed her on the cheek. She continued, "So what's the deal with you telling Dad it was your fault?" "Well, it was my fault. I didn't know what was going on until right before I qualified, and by then it was too late to do anything about it," I answered. This time it was Yinz's turn. She was pissed and slapped the hell out of me. "Stupid jarhead. What the hell do you mean waiting until now to get to the hospital? I should kick your butt for that. I knew that if I went to the hospital, I'd be out of the competition," I replied. Yinz was still pissed. "Don't you think your arm is more important than any damn competition?" I was getting pretty damn tired of this shit. I loved Yinz, but she was being too much a pain in the butt. I got out of the Humvee, walked around to her side, and opened the door. "Marine Tin Hut." She was shocked, but her training took over, and she jumped out of the Humvee and stood at attention. I continued, "Jarhead, I have put up with a lot of crap from you for the last day, and it's going to stop. We've both made decisions that weren't necessarily the best, but the decisions have been made and are over. I know that you love me, but it doesn't give you the right to treat me with disrespect and dishonor. You told me that if I made a decision, you would support me in it no matter what. Were those empty words, or did you mean what you said? If you meant what you said, then prove it to me." Yinz stood there looking at me with tears streaming down her face, but I hadn't given her permission to speak, so she couldn't say anything. I walked back and forth in front of her, letting her think about what I said. Finally, I said, "At ease, feel free to speak." And the floodgates opened and she was crying full force. I'm so sorry, Ben. I didn't realize what I was doing. I can see now I was being a bitchy pain in the butt, and I deserved everything you just said to me. Please tell me you forgive me and still love me." The rest that she said was unintelligible blubber. I held my good arm out to my side and said, "Marine, fall out and give me a hug." She flew into my arms and started hugging and kissing me all at the same time. She was crying. I held her and consoled her, letting her know that of course I forgave her and still loved her, and I always would love her. causing her to cry even more. She finally calmed down enough that I could understand what she was saying, how she kept telling me she was so sorry and that she would never do it again, telling me I was the best man in the world for putting up with her for so long. Now I felt like a heel. I finally said, "My love, let's forget about all this and get back to our house. I'm getting a little tired and need to rest for tomorrow." She looked at me with those violet eyes, and I had never seen more love in them than this moment. "I'm sorry I've been such a bad girl the last day. I think when we get home you should give me a good spanking." Damn, I don't know how she does it, but of course she made me blush. "I could just order you to spank yourself." She gave me the famous pout. "That wouldn't be nearly as fun, and it wouldn't be nearly as dangerous for me," I replied, and we both laughed about it. I walked her to the Humvee and opened the door for her, then walked around the other side and got in. She looked at my MCCU shirt. "Damn, I made a mess out of your shirt. It's all wet and I bet covered with snot." I looked down at my shirt and laughed. "I'm glad you're the one that does the laundry." I looked up and saw Jens looking at me. "I love and live to serve you. It's an honor to do your laundry. Besides, I sort of like washing our undies together. It makes me feel like we're an old married couple." Jens started the Humvee and drove us home. We talked about and relived the good and non-bitchy parts of our day, just like an old married couple. We both got ready for bed, and while we didn't have makeup sex, we did have makeup cuddling. Kadaba, Pakistan, evening of 20th day of capture. I took several hours for me to fall asleep last night. The whole time I was thinking of ways to escape, and I think I've figured out a plan that will work. It's going to be risky, but I'm tired of just waiting to be rescued. Damn, that makes me wonder what the hell is going on with Jens. If I try real hard, I can still sort of feel her feelings, and it's almost scary when I do. I've never felt her this pissed off before. When the guards came in to get me this morning, Zarika wasn't with them, so I started singing my fake death song again as loud as I could. I'm not sure why, but whenever I sing it they get really freaked out. They left the guard in the room that was watching me all night and came back a while later with Zarika. When she came in with them I didn't sing and I could see a little twinkle in her eyes. The 3 guards moved me downstairs to my cell and tied me back to the ceiling. Shit, what's going on now? Zarika told me in Russian that Hussein was bringing in the imam to see me today. Then she came over and started cleaning me up even better than before. Shit, she even cut my hair and shaved the little bit of scruff on my face. I got really pissed when she wanted to give me a man dress and refused to wear it. The guards came over and started fighting with me until I started in on the death song. They freaked out and gave up, and Zarika went and brought in a pair of pants and a shirt for me. Of course, the minute she left I started wailing again and didn't stop until she came back. Damn, at least I had some control over the situation. Once I was cleaned up, the guards moved me to the chair and tied me up. Damn, they even tied my left arm down. Zarika left to go get my food, and of course I sang the death song until she came back. Damn, are these guys clueless? If this weren't a life or death situation, I might be able to laugh about it. We waited around for about an hour, and finally the imam, Hussein, and Mustaf came in. They tried to chase Zarika out of the room, and when she started leaving, I started in on my death song, singing it as loud as I could. Mustaf got really pissed and came over and started beating on me. Hussein and the guards grabbed him and beat the shit out of him, finally tying him up to my old spot on the ceiling. Damn son of a bitch, I hope he likes how it feels. The whole time I kept up the wailing until they finally brought Zarika back. Damn, to think they would let a woman be here when the imam was here. I really have them shaken up. Hussein and the imam sat across the table from me, while Zarika was sitting by my feet. The imam looked at me and said, in pretty damn good English, "Why is it my son that you want to die?" I thought, no way. I'm not and will never be your son, you scumsucker. But I replied, I'm American Indian, and my spirits have told me I will never escape. I need to prepare myself to be with my ancestors. The imam continued, maybe my son, you just haven't experienced the one true God. I took all my strength not to puke when he said that. Tell me, imam, is Mustaf one of God's children? The imam looked at Mustaf hanging from the ceiling and said, yes, he is one of God's children. I looked at him and said, if he is one of God's children, then I will never be interested in him. Mustaf has treated me worse than a shit, and because of him I'm not interested. I decided that I'd pour on the bullshit and told the imam, with your God as my witness, what I tell you now is the truth. He has tortured and starved me. He has made me watch women and children being assaulted and killed. He even assaulted Zarika when Hussein wasn't around. And even though Hussein told him not to, he has still been injecting me with narcotics every day. Check my arms if you don't believe me. Mustaf was screaming and hollering in Arabic. Zarika figured out the assault lie and hung her head in fake shame. Damn, she was a good little actress. Hussein called 2 of the guards over. They held down my arms and pulled up my sleeves. The fresh injection sites were evident. Hussein went into a rage and started beating Mustif. Finally, he pulled out his pistol and shot Mustif in guts. Mustif let out a huge scream and passed out. Inside, I was the happiest I'd ever been since being captured. The damn rat was going to die a slow and painful death. The imam didn't seem upset at all by the display of violence and said to me, "Well, there has been enough excitement here for today. With Mustif dead, I'll need to stop by every day to talk with you." He talked some to Hussein. It sounded more like he was chewing his, but then a friendly discussion. I'm sure that Zarika will tell me what he said later. They both left, leaving me alone with the dying Mustif, Zarika, and the guards. As soon as they left, Zarika went over and spit on Mustif and kicked him in his balls, eliciting a moan from him and laughter from the guards. Then she came over and told me, "The imam told Hussein he needed to treat you better because they could use a great and brave warrior like you." I spit on the ground and said, "Screw him. I'll see them all in hell." She then talked the guards into turning my chair so I could watch Mustif slowly bleed out. I would taunt him every time he woke up, and Zarika kept kicking him in the balls. It took all day, but finally he bled out enough that he no longer woke up or even moaned when Zarika kicked him. The finally thing I said to him was, "That's what you get for screwing with a Marine." It was sweet watching him die, but not as sweet as if I would have killed the scumsucker with my own hands. Zarika treated me to even more food at dinner than normal. After dinner, she sat in my lap and told me how proud she was that I figured out a way to get Mustif killed. The guards even treated me better when they took me upstairs too and tied me to my bed. I guess the imam's talk to Hussein rubbed off on them. Zarika said, "Spokona noka, good night, sweet dreams," and left, leaving just my one guard in my room. I fell asleep right away, and I did have such sweet dreams of my yints. Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii, Tuesday, day 19. Oh yes, Benno, I like that. I woke up and reached for the kimber on my nightstand and thought, what the hell was that? Oh, Ben. Yints continued in her sleep. Oh shit, I figured it out. Yints is having an erotic dream, and it must be a good one. I wonder if women can have erotic dreams. You know, we're both about as sexually frustrated as two people can get. It's a shame that we just can't take care of it. Oh, Yints screamed one last time and stopped thrashing around on the bed. This really sucks, I thought. When something shocks me awake like this, I'm awake for a very long time. Besides, Yints stole all the covers and is wrapped up in them like a mummy. She's such a cover thief when I don't spoon her. I figure I might as well get out of bed and do something. Shit, it's only 0030 and her dream has even excited me. Perhaps I'll just take another cold shower. I walked in my old bedroom and saw my 5 fingers. Shit, I know, I'll go for a run. I haven't had a run by myself, well, since Yints came into my life. And with the way she's acted the last 2 days, I need some time to myself. This will be perfect. Running helps to clear my mind and gives me time to think. That's why I love it so much. I might just do a Forrest Gump someday, where I start out running and never stop. This cast doesn't bother me much as I run. I wished I could say the same thing about shooting. Oh well, that was yesterday, and I did the best I could. Today's competition is knives, and the cast won't be as much of a hindrance. Oh shit, I forgot about the guards at the gate. Maybe I can blow by them, and they won't give me any crap. Halt. Who goes there? The guard said. Sergeant Major Benny Blaine out for an early morning training run. I answered and showed him my ID. He looked at it and said, "Shouldn't you have an escort with you?" Hey listen, I'm going a short distance down the road and then right back. I don't think anyone is out this early that will bother me. Besides, I have my kimber with me just in case, and I showed him my sidearm. Well, okay. I guess you can pass, and the guard let me through the gate. Running free again was great. Nothing to think about. Just the sound of one foot hitting the pavement in front of the other and sound of my breath. This run is helping me get rid of the bad feelings I have towards Yints from yesterday. I guess I'm still adapting to not being alone, but damn it, I still need some alone time. I didn't head down towards Kahaluu Point this time. Instead, I decided to run straight into town. There were just enough streetlights that I could see quite well, and I thought I had the road to myself, that is until I ran past a bar. Damn, look at all those bikes out front, and it looks like the bar is closing for the night and the bikers are heading towards their bikes. Hey, isn't that the Marine that almost killed Jimmy? One of the bikers yelled. All the bikers looked at me running by. Yeah, it looks like the pictures I saw of him in the paper, and he has a cast just like that shithead in the paper had. Another biker answered. Shit, I thought, I need to get the hell out of here. And I started running down the street as fast as I could. Shit, that's a gunshot. The scumsuckers started shooting at me. I'd better start dodging. I heard the bike start up and knew that they'd be chasing me down soon if I didn't do something. So I dodged down an alley and tipped over all the trash cans as ran to try to slow them up. I just made it to the end of the alley as I heard the bikes enter the other end. I stepped around the corner, pulled my kimber, and waited. The trash cans were slowing them up down some, but not much. As the first biker came through the end of the alley, I shot the scumsucker's front tire, and his bike went down hard with 6 other bikes crashing into his. They were pissed off and swearing up a storm. One saw me and he went for his gun. Even using my left hand, I beat him to the shot. A double tap, one center mass, and he was down. But shit, they all saw me now and they started firing. 1, 2 shots. When you have to use a handgun for self-defense if possible, and depending on the caliber, you always fire at least 2 shots center mass, middle of the chest. I dodged down another alley, making a mess of the trash cans as I ran, and did the best tactical reload that I'd done since my right arm was in a cast. I'd fired 3 shots out of 1 mag, so I had 5 shots left in that mag, 1 in the pipe and 8 in the new mag. It looked like there were about 15 bikers left. Shit, I was going to run out of ammo before I ran out of targets, and I couldn't afford to do double taps. They must have gotten around the down bikes because I could hear the bikes coming again. Son of a bitch, I needed to get somewhere that they couldn't go, but I needed to slow them up first. I ducked behind a dumpster and waited. There was a street light about 20 feet away, and I could see really well from where I was hiding. As soon as I saw the front biker, I nailed him with a single tap in the head, and his bike crashed again, causing a chain reaction crash with the following bikes. The stupid scumsuckers will never learn. I started pushing the dumpster down the alley towards the bikers, using it as a shield. They were more pissed than before and were shooting the hell out of the dumpster. I would peek around the side and single tap any of the scumsuckers that I saw. I gave the dumpster one last push, took off running down the alley. Shit, it felt like I was in Iraq again with all the bullets that were flying around. At least the scumsuckers were drunk and bad shots. You know, when you don't need the frickin' police, they're always around. But now that I could really use one, of course they're not around. Too bad there isn't a donut shop around here. I'm down to 2 in this mag. Time for another tactical reload. Only 8 rounds left. Finally, there's the Kamehameha highway. If I can get across it and drop over the seawall, I'll have some pretty good protection. Shit, more shots. The pricks must have made it out of the alley. At least they're on foot. I dove over the seawall with shots whistling all around me. Damn, that didn't feel real good on my right arm. I ducked and ran along the wall for about 10 feet, and then popped up and took out 2 more before they spotted my new position. I ducked and ran another 10 feet, popped up again. Damn, they were close, and I emptied the last 3 rounds in this mag and did my final tactical reload. Shit, 3 shots left and 4 bikers. Finally, I heard some damn sirens. It's about frickin' time. Now if I can just stay away from these last 4, I'll be fine. I popped up one last time and noticed that the 4 bikers had heard the sirens and were taking off. I was pissed and thought about shooting them, but it would be hard to explain why I shot them in the back. Shit, finally saved by the cavalry. Because I was only doing single taps, I wasn't sure that the rat scumsuckers I shot were dead, so I stayed hidden behind the seawall. I heard a bunch of police cars slide up and the police some boiling out of them. I yelled, "Don't shoot me. I'm Sergeant Major Benny Blaine. I'm behind the seawall and I'm throwing out my gun and coming out." I held the kimber up in the air above the seawall, holding it by 2 fingers, and set it on top of the seawall. "We see you. Stand up slowly and put your hands on your head. Don't reach for that gun, or we will fire," one of the officers said. I put my hands up in the air, doing the best as I could with my right arm, and slowly stood up. Shit, this was worse than the frickin' bikers. I hoped that one of the cops didn't have an itchy trigger finger. After I stood up, I heard, "Shit, not you again." It was the same captain from 2 nights ago. "Everyone stand down and don't fire," the captain commanded. A couple of police came over. One used gloves, picked up my kimber, unloaded it, and put it in a plastic bag. The other helped me climb over the seawall and escorted me to the captain. The captain asked me what had happened. I looked at him and said, "Sir, I was taking a morning run because I couldn't sleep when these bikers attacked me without provocation, so I defended myself. Not to be disrespectful, but before I answer any more questions, I would like for you to call the general. He will decide if I need legal counsel." The captain had a patrol car take me down to the station, and I was placed in an interrogation room. The adrenaline rush from my battle drained out of my body, taking my energy with it. I sat in the chair, laid my head on the table, and fell asleep. Meanwhile, Yints. Shit, the damn phone was ringing. "Ben, honey, will you get that?" I asked. I opened my eyes, and hell, where the hell is Ben? Damn, I was all wrapped up in the covers and could hardly move. Finally, I worked a hand out and grabbed the phone. "Hello, this is Yints." Daddy was on the phone and chewed my butt. "Where the hell were you in the escorts?" Daddy said, and continued, "Ben was in some sort of gunfight in town and is being held at the police station." Son of a bitch, that woke me up better than any cup of coffee. "Get your butt out of bed and get dressed. I'll be by in 15 minutes to pick you up so we can go see Ben." Dad yelled over the phone. Shit, that jarhead took off for a late-night run and didn't wake me up. I'll kick his butt when I see him." No, wait, I need to change my attitude. Ben fell asleep before me last night, and I stayed up cuddling with him and thinking about how I had acted the last 2 days, and I realized that I'd become a bitchy, and it had started putting up a wall between us. Shit. I bet that's the reason he went for a run by himself. He needed to be away from me and my bitchiness. Ben was right when he told me that I needed to support him no matter what. I had promised him I would do that, and he really needs me now. He didn't need the bitchy nagging yints. He needs the supportive loving yints. I need to get dressed and get my head on straight. I got dressed in my service uniform and fixed my hair. Damn, what a time to have a bad hair day. Maybe I should get a Demi Moore haircut. Nah, Ben likes my hair and I like when he runs his fingers through it. Oh well, it'll have to do. I just finished slipping into my flats as Daddy pulled up. I ran out to his car and jumped in. Son of a bitch, where the hell were you tonight, and where was the goddamned escort? Daddy yelled. I looked down at the floor of the car and said, I'm sorry, sir. It's my fault. I've been a real bitch to Ben about his arm for the last 2 days. Something must have woke him up, and because of me I think he felt like he needed some time alone. My dad gave me a serious talking to again. Finally I looked over at him and said, okay, you've made me feel even worse than before, but we both need to stop fighting right now. Believe me when you told me he was at the police station I was pissed and wanted to kick his butt. But I promised myself last night that I was going to support Ben no matter what, and he really needs not just but our support more than ever. I want you to know that when we get to the police station, you'd better not chew Ben's butt, or first I will kick your butt, and then Mom will take over. So if you need to chew my butt, you can do it later, but we need to think of Ben first. He gave me a surprised look and said, well, I'll be damned. My daughter has finally grown up. If I wasn't so pissed, I'd tell you how damn proud I am of you. And you're right, I don't know what sort of trouble Ben is in, but first he needs our support. I can wait until later to chew his butt. Daddy and I rode the rest of the way to the police station in silence. I don't know what Daddy was thinking, but I was still kicking myself for being such a bitch. I don't think that Ben did anything that would put him in prison, but shit, I know we would both almost die if he had to spend any time locked up. I spent the rest of the ride to the police station worrying about Ben and trying to control my emotions. We were almost at the police station when Daddy said, now you need to control yourself when we get in the station and act like the Marine that I've trained you to be. Don't go off half-hearted and start getting bossy or bitchy with the police or the DA. This isn't the Marines where I can fix something that you screw up. Remember, these people have control over your fiancé. The lecture helped and was what I needed to hear. Being bullheaded with these people wouldn't work, because they could push back harder than I could push them. I wonder? Perhaps that might work with them. The lawyer that Daddy had called arrived a few minutes before we did and was already arguing with the police and the DA. We were ushered into the police chief's office where the conversation was being held. I hate most lawyers, but this guy was pretty good. As we were introduced to the chief of police and the DA, I gave them one of my biggest smiles and poured on the charm as I shook their hands. I wish that I could have met both of you handsome men on better terms. It's always such a pleasure to meet those that are responsible for keeping us safe. I sleep much better at night knowing that we can always count on law enforcement to protect us. It wasn't how I really felt, but I knew I couldn't get what I wanted unless I baffled them with bullshit. I continued. I know that there must be some little misunderstanding because my fiancé Ben would never break the law. He never even speeds when he drives. I'm so worried about him and his injured arm that I'm almost sick. Would it be possible for me to see him? I just want to hold him and tell him I love him. I shot them another one of my smiles and then I looked back at Daddy and the lawyer and winked. They looked totally baffled. My plan worked and the chief of police and the DA melted. Damn, it's nice being a woman sometimes. The chief pressed a button on the intercom and called in a policeman to escort me to where Ben was being held. I kissed Daddy on the cheek as I left and whispered in his ear, I'm going to make sure he's okay, and I know they'll be listening, so I'll also make sure he doesn't tell me anything. You and this lawyer need to get him the hell out of here. I'm counting on you. I shook both the chief's and DA's hand and thanked them when I left, and even turned and blew them a little kiss from the doorway. It seemed like we walked forever to get to the interrogation room Ben was being held in, but I'm sure that was just because I was so worried. It was good though, because it did let me calm myself even more. Damn, I could wait to see my fiancé. I was going to give him such a hug and kiss. We finally reached the room and the policeman opened the door. There were 2 detectives questioning Ben. Damn, he looked tired. The detectives looked frustrated. I could tell that Ben wasn't telling them anything. I wanted to run and jump in his arms, but I waited for the room to clear. Ben stood up and I ran over to him and hugged him as tight as I could and gave him a huge kiss. After we came up for air, I whispered in his ear, I love you, and I miss you so much. We're here for you now. Don't say anything because they're listening. Again back to Ben. Damn, it was so good to finally see Yince again. I figured that she was going to really chew my, but because I really screwed up this time. I was so surprised when she came to me and hugged me so hard that my back popped and then gave me a huge kiss. Shit, I know my breath must be really bad. But she didn't even flinch. I sat back down and Yin sat on my lap. Damn, she's going to have to get her uniform cleaned because I'm a sweaty, smelly mess. Yinz, I missed you so much. I'm so sorry. I tried to say more, but she kissed me on the lips again. My fiancé, Yinz said and continued, I need to apologize to you and I don't care who hears what I say. I realize that I've been a real bitch and a nag the last 2 days. Ever since you broke your arm keeping me from being assaulted by those nasty bikers, I was so scared of them and you saved me keeping me pure for our wedding night. I felt guilty that I couldn't protect myself and that you got hurt protecting my honor. Damn, Yinz had some sort of plan and was pouring on the bullshit. She definitely wasn't scared of them. She wasn't going to be assaulted and she even kicked the shit out of one of them. I opened my mouth to say something and Yinz kissed me again. My love, don't say anything. Just hold me tight, Yinz said and started to lightly cry. Well, I was sure confused. I knew that sooner or later I would see Yinz, and I was ready for her to unload a shitstorm on me. Hell, I deserved it. But here she is sitting in my lap, pretending to be a defenseless woman when we both know better. And it's plain that she doesn't want me to talk. Every time I open my mouth, she plays tonsil hockey with me. So I held her and stroked her hair like she liked. She continued to cry and even shivered every once in a while. Damn, she's such an actress. The door opened and the detectives walked back in and asked Yinz to leave. I guess they figured that I wasn't going to tell her anything. Yinz started crying and wailing. One of the detectives came over and grabbed her by the arm, pulling her out of my lap. I almost jumped up and beat the shit out of him for touching Yinz, but she winked at me and slumped to the floor and wrapped both of her arms around my legs. Damn, the floor was nasty. She started sobbing and wailing and carrying on like they were trying to kill her, going on and on about how she was so scared of the bikers assaulting her and how she only felt safe when she was with me. Just as the detective was getting ready to try to grab Yinz again, Dad and 3 other men walked in the room. One was in a police uniform. The one in the uniform took one look at Yinz wailing on the floor and the detective trying to grab her arm and said, Detective Branson, what's going on here? Detective Branson spun around and said, Sir, we had let this female in to see the suspect like you requested and hoped that he would tell her something. All they did was hug and kiss, so we decided to remove her from the room and continue the interrogation. Yinz had worked her way back into my lap and was holding my neck tight. She looked like hell. Her uniform was a huge mess. All of her makeup had run all over her face and she had snot running out of her nose. Yinz winked at me and looked over at the 3 and sobbed. This man tried to take me away from my fiancé. Since I was almost assaulted by those nasty bikers, and Ben saved me and protected my honor, I don't feel safe unless I am with him. Detective Branson even grabbed me by the arm, and I think bruised me when he tried to drag me out of this room. Is this what they call police brutality? And continued sobbing and shivering. Detective Branson looked like he was going to shit his pants when the 2 suits that came in with Dad and the uniform gave him nasty looks. The uniform told the detective to bring in some more chairs and then leave the room. Yinz was still crying when they came back with the chairs, so they sent the detectives out to get some Kleenex and a cup of coffee for everyone. Yinz looked up at Detective Branson when he handed her the cup of coffee and said thanks in the meekest voice I'd ever heard her use. I'm so sorry, Detective Branson, that I caused so much trouble, but I don't feel safe unless I'm with my fiancé. She even gave him a halfway smile. The detectives left the room and introductions were made. The uniform was the Robert Long, the chief of police. The tall, strong-looking suit was Mike Stokes, the district attorney. The Weasley-looking short suit was Marvin Straight, my frickin' lawyer. Dad and the 3 of them were going over a bunch of boring legal crap and I tried to follow, but Yinz was distracting me. She was sitting right in the middle of my lap and kept flexing her buns, causing interesting sensations in my little marine. Damn, why was she teasing me now? Finally, an agreement was made. The DA thought that it was self-defense, but I needed to go back to the scene with my lawyer, the DA, the detectives, and the crime scene investigators and reenact everything that happened. Shit, this meant I was going to miss the sniper competition today. I started to open my mouth and complain when Yinz gave me another big kiss and pinched the hell out of my ear with her hand. I got the idea. I needed to shut the hell up and do what I was told. The other 3 at the table thought it was so cute how Yinz was so in love with me. I think only Dad and I knew what a devious witch she had been. Yinz looked at the chief and DA, and using her meek voice she asked, would it be possible for me and my fiancé to have some time alone where people aren't watching? I want to thank him in private for being so brave. And she batted her eyes at them. Of course they melted and we were led to an office and given 10 minutes. I figured, okay, now it's time for the shit to hit the fan. Yinz closed the door behind her, quickly surveyed the room and ran and jumped into my arms. This time she was crying for real, smothering me with little kisses. She went on and on and on about how sorry she was and how she had been a bitch and a nag and how she would never do that again. And she wasn't good enough for me and how she had caused a wall between us and hoped that I still loved her and that I'd take down the wall between us. She was talking and sobbing so damn fast I couldn't get a word in edgewise. Finally, I grabbed the back of her head and gave her a big kiss. When we came up for air, I said, "Okay, is it my turn to talk?" She looked at me with love and adoration in her eyes and nodded her head. I continued, "My love, you have me so confused I hardly know what to say. I figured that you were going to chew but the minute we got in this room, and now you're asking my forgiveness. I don't understand." Yince lightly slapped my face. "Silly jarhead. Weren't you listening to me at all? I just told you I'm going to try to never do that again. I'm not going to say that I won't slip and make a mistake. You do know how emotional I get about things. But you're right. I need to support you and not bitch and nag at you. I don't know exactly what you did this morning, but I'm going to be right by your side today helping you." She was still holding me close. I pushed her an arm length away from me, looked at her and said, "Aren't you forgetting about the sniper competition?" Yince said, "Screw the competition. I'm spending the day with you." "Yince, the Corps is counting on one of us winning the competition. There's no way in hell that the police will let me compete, so I'm out of the competition. I'm asking you, Marine, to win that trophy for the Corps. I know that you will exceed my expectations today, and that you will win today's competition," I said, not quite making it in order. Yince looked at me and there was some fire in her eyes. "Ben, I'm glad you didn't make this in order and asked me. What you've said makes sense, but know that my heart wants to be here with you. Because you asked me, I will go and compete today. I will do my best, and I will more than exceed your expectations. I'm going to win this competition not for the Corps and not for me. I'm going to win this competition because you asked me to. I love and live to serve you." Shit, I thought. I never thought that asking Yince would get better results than ordering her to do something. I've been a Marine so long that I just assumed that when I needed to get something done, I would just order someone to do it. This having a fiancé stuff is confusing. Yince smiled at me, knowing what I was thinking, kissed my cheek and said, "Of course you can always order me to do something and I will do it. But because you so seldom ask me to do something, it's special, and it tells me that it's really something you want me to do. Thanks for asking me to do this. Shit, I'd better get going, or I'll miss the competition." She gave me a big hug and kiss, pulled out some stuff from her purse, and in 2 minutes she looked beautiful again. There was a knock on the door and a policeman escorted us back into the chief's office. Yince walked over to her dad and whispered in his ear, "I'm leaving for the competition because Ben asked me to. Will you please make sure that he gets out of this?" She smiled and shook hands with the chief and the DA and told them she needed to get to the competition and she knew that I would help them find the truth in the incident. She gave them a huge smile, turned and walked out of the office. Wow, I was shocked by Yince again. I don't think I'll ever understand women, especially Yince. I figured she was going to rip me a new a-hole and she didn't. Then I figured I was going to have a huge fight when I asked her to go to the competition and she went with very little problems. And I still don't understand the whole win the competition for me because I asked her to. Another thing, I could tell that she was really pissed, but none of it was directed at me. As Mr. T would say, I pity the poor fools at the competition today because they're in for a world of hurt. Women, you can't live with them. You can't trade them for a dog. It was taking forever to get everything worked out for all of us to go to the crime, seen as the police were calling it. Shit, the only crime was that the police took so long to show up. Don't misunderstand me. I think the police do a great service to our country. It's just they can't be everywhere at once. In fact, I'm not sure I'd want them everywhere. I do like my privacy. But when someone's shooting at you or breaking down your door, you'd better be able to defend yourself. Meanwhile, Yince. Shit, I'm so damn pissed. This is a huge mess. Ben and I were supposed to win the competition together, and now he's out of the competition. I really wanted to be with him, but when he asked me to compete, I knew that I had to do it. He's never really asked me anything. I love taking care of him and he doesn't know it, but I'd do anything he asked me to do. I'm glad that Daddy is going to stay here and take care of things. Yes, I know I didn't say I would kick his, but if he didn't get Ben out of this, I asked him nicely. I figured that maybe if it works so well, when Ben asks me to do something it might work the same on Daddy. I do know he looked surprised when I asked him and didn't threaten him, but I'm still really pissed. In fact, I'm too pissed. If I go to the competition like this, I'll fly into the training area and get killed right away. At least Ben and I had trained some for today's competition. He doesn't know it, but he is an excellent trainer, and I've already learned so much from him. Too bad that the traps won't count today like they did with D.I. Anderson's platoon. But it wouldn't be fair since I made them all and I know where they are. Good the Humvee showed up to take me to the base so that I can get ready for my day. I need to calm myself and take control of things. Ben has asked me to win today, and I cannot let him down. Meanwhile, Ben. Well, it's about time. We're finally on the way to the frickin' crime scene. Damn, I hate riding in the back of a police car. It makes me feel I'm locked up and that I'm a criminal, and I hate being locked up. Plus, the back of this police car smells like shit. I don't know what someone did back here, but I'm sure it wasn't pleasant. We're finally at the scene. Yeah, I refuse to call it a crime scene anymore, and everyone is standing around flapping their lips. They left me in the back of this damn squad car. Shit, it's not like I'm going to run off. Where the hell would I go? Good. It looks like they're sending someone over to get me. At least they haven't put handcuffs on me. I'd probably kill the first scumsucker that tried that. I do have to say that I don't like the way they grab me by the arm and lead me around. I'm not a damn horse. It's pretty impressive how many police are here. I didn't know they had that many police on the whole damn island. They're looking at all the buildings, and they have all these little yellow numbers on the ground by the cartridge cases. I'm sure glad that I practiced gun control. You know what gun control is, don't you? Gun control is hitting the target that you aim at. I got introduced to two CSI. One was named Jack Dillon. He was the head of the CSI lab, and the other was a nice-looking woman named Muriel Hathaway. She was his assistant and was sure checking me out. It's a good thing Yince wasn't here. She gets really pissed when that happens. Muriel had wavy chestnut hair and brown eyes and nice-looking gray suit that was cut too low in the front, showing the top of her. The matching skirt came down mid-thigh and was a bit too tight for my taste. I suppose since CSI shows are so prevalent on television, and the women tend to dress provocatively, Muriel was just keeping up the standard. The press was all over the place, but the police were doing an excellent job keeping them away. They did recognize me and were yelling about getting an interview. Screw them, they'll need to wait. As we headed over in front of the bar, Muriel grabbed my arm to lead me and pulled it against her. I looked at her, and she just gave me a big smile and squeezed it harder against her body and winked at me. Shit, that's all I need is an excited woman trying to get me all hot and bothered today. Good thing she isn't Yince, or it would have gotten a response from me. Then I went through the whole incident. They had tape recorders running so they could keep track of everything I said. I told them how I ran past the bar and was recognized, so I took off down the alley as they started firing at me. When I said that, some other CSIs that were following us changed the yellow numbers to red. Shit, when I started talking about the gunshots, Muriel squeezed my arm even tighter against her. The trash cans being tipped over and the bikers running through it and the crashed bike still at the end of the alley had made a huge mess out of the alley. We had to be careful where we walked, especially me, because I was still wearing my 5 fingers. The last thing I wanted to do was to step on something and have it ruin my 5 fingers and cut my foot. I showed them where I stood at the side of the alley and how I drew my kimber and waited for the first biker to come through the alley and shot his front tire, causing the first pile up. Damn if I didn't hear Muriel moan a little when I talked about shooting out the tire. Everyone was very impressed that my first shot was not at the biker but at his bike. Jack asked, "What caliber was your weapon and what bullets were you using?" I answered, "My kimber was 45 ACP and it was loaded with Golden Sabers 2+P. I figured he already knew this but was just double-checking. I went on to explain that one of the bikers pulled his gun on me and how I did a double tap to his chest. Muriel shivered when I said that and pulled my arm so tight against her body I was sure it had to hurt her. 2. Golden Saber. A defensive handgun round made by Remington, designed for good expansion while maintaining bullet integrity. They also have nickel-plated cases. The other CSIs that were with us found what they thought were my 3 cartridge cases and marked them with green numbers. They marked all the other cases with red. Damn, there was a shitload of cases on the ground. Then we moved on down the alley. It was just as messy as before, only this time there was blood everywhere. I could help stepping in some of it. Shit. I'm going to throw these 5 fingers away when I get out of here. I almost shit my pants when we walked by the dumpster that I used as my shield. There must have been close to 100 holes in it. Some of them were even .223 and had gone through the side facing the bikers. I showed them where I hid behind the dumpster and where I shot the first biker when he came into the light, causing another crash. Then how I pushed the dumpster down the alley towards the bikers and peeked around the side of the dumpster, shooting the bikers when I could. Muriel got real hot and bothered when I talked about each shot, and when no one was looking even reached down and pinched my back. It surprised me when she did it, and I let out a little noise. Everyone looked at me and I said, "I stepped on something." It took a while for the other CSIs to find my cases and mark them with sequential green numbers. We then headed down the alley and across the Kamehameha Highway. I mentioned how they shot at me again and showed them where I dived behind the seawall. The CSIs marked a bunch more cases in red. They also marked some places on the ground that looked to be where bullets had struck. Shit, a couple of those were too damn close to me. We jumped down over the seawall. Muriel made sure she showed me a bunch of leg as she slipped over the wall, then looked at me and licked her lips. I moved them along the wall in the direction I traveled and showed them where I popped up and shot the last 2 scumsuckers. Muriel moved around in front of me and leaned over looking for the cases, but what she was really doing was giving me a chance to look down the front of her top. Once I figured that out, I looked away. Before she could grab my arm again, I moved to my final location and told them I had 3 rounds left and there were 4 bikers. How I heard the sirens, and when I popped up they had turned around and were leaving. Jack asked me, "You didn't shoot when they were running away?" I looked at him and said, "No, I didn't. They were no longer a threat. You have my Kimber. I've accounted for all my shots, and you know I had 3 rounds left." Muriel had came up behind me, put her hand on my shoulder and asked, "If there were 4 bikers and you only had 3 shots left, what were you going to do if they hadn't taken off?" I replied, "I would have pulled my cabber and used it." A very small moan escaped her lips and I felt her shiver again. I was done with my statement. I had told them all the facts as I remembered them. They were impressed with the amount of detail I remembered and how calm and cool I had remained during the gunfight. Dad reminded them that I'd had 4 tours of duty in Iraq and was used to battle situations. Muriel was so excited when she heard that she was squeezing the hell out of my arm. It was time for everyone to talk and decide if what I did was justified. They called a policeman over to take me back to the patrol cars and get me something to eat and drink. Muriel offered to do that, but thank God they needed her for the discussion. It felt damn good to be out of the clutches of that damn man-hunting bitch as the policeman lead me off. Meanwhile, Yinz. I was glad I didn't have to drive back to the base because it gave me time to calm down and collect my thoughts. The driver wanted to gab, but when I ordered him to shut the hell up, he left me alone. I felt bad later. He was just a kid, and I'm sure he thinks I'm a real bitch. As I was getting ready for today's competition, I couldn't help but feel that Ben was in some sort of danger, but I couldn't tell what it was. It was bugging me so much I finally called Daddy and asked him what was going on. He laughed and said, "Don't worry, he's doing fine and holding up well. Some female CSI has her sights set on Ben and is flirting the hell out of him. I'm not sure if it's a ruse to try to make him mess up or if it is real. But you'd be proud how Ben is totally ignoring her." I let loose a string of swear words that I'm sure had Daddy blushing. He finally told me, "Hey Marine, calm down. Ben is so in love with you that nothing is going to happen. Now that I've got you fired up, I want you to take that energy and pretend that all your competition today is the woman that's flirting with Ben." Then he hung up the phone. Well, Daddy certainly did get me fired up, and not only that, he gave me a mental image, and now each competitor was going to be that bitch that was after my Ben. I'd better make sure I don't take a real cabber today. I'm so pissed that I might actually use it. The kid was waiting to drive me to the training area. I know I should have apologized to him, but I was even more pissed now than before. We were given 20 minutes to hit in the training area before the competition. The first thing I did was put on the new bionic ears that Ben bought me. I was sure that some of the other teams would be using them, so I needed all the advantages that I could get. They really helped, and I noticed that I'd forgotten to make some of the adjustments in my gear that Ben had taught me. So I did that and then was almost silent. Being worked up like I was a holy terror in the training area. Every kill felt like I was driving the cabber into the bitch after my Ben, and just got me even more worked up. I guess you might say I went berserk. It even drove me crazier a couple times when I seemed to feel that Ben was enjoying something. That damn bitch. I just might kill her for real when I get done here. What everyone thought would take 8 or 9 hours, I did in 4. My last kill was the most sad bitch and was especially sweet, as I defeated her in my dream. I imagined she was the CSI antagonist, and I was taking away her power. As I ran out of the training area, I called Daddy. He told me they were still at the crime scene figuring things out, but that it looked really good for my Ben. He asked me how things went, but I didn't want to talk and hung up the phone on him. I got to the parking area, ran right by everyone else, not even stopping at the RSO table, and jumped into the waiting Humvee yelling at the kid to take me to the crime scene. The kid dropped me at the scene, and I must have been a sight. I hadn't even taken off my ghillie suit or face paint. Some policeman tried to stop me, and I said, "Get the hell out of my way. I'm General Donaldson's daughter. I'm Benny Blaine's fiancée, and I'm here to see my man." I scared the shit out of him, and he escorted me over to a patrol car where Ben was standing and drinking a cup of coffee and talking to some bitch. Shit, I bet that was her. Ben saw me coming and he ran. Yes, he ran over to me and gave me a huge hug and kiss, swinging me around like he always does. It felt so good to be in his arms again, and all my anger melted as he gave me a second kiss. I whispered in his ear, "Is that the bitch that I hear that has been trying to steal you from me?" Now Ben's side of story. It was so good to see Yinz. Damn, she was early. I hope she didn't get killed. Shit, she was still in her ghillie suit and hadn't even taken off her face paint. Things were pretty much done here. They just had a few more questions for me. Unfortunately, they had Muriel asking me the questions. Muriel was flirting me up big time and sending me all sorts of signals that she was willing if I was willing. At first, I thought it was an act, but I finally figured out that it was real, and it made me very uncomfortable. I love Yinz and only Yinz and would never cheat on her. When I saw Yinz headed my way, I could tell by the way she was walking that she was really pissed. Could she have known about Muriel? I figured I'd better do something to simmer her down just in case. Plus, I had missed her, so I didn't even say anything to Muriel. I ran right over and gave Yinz some lovin'. I was shocked when she asked me about Muriel. I don't know how she knew. Damn, maybe she is a witch? After her question, I kissed her and whispered back, I'm so glad you're finally here. I guess she was trying to flirt with me, but all I could think of was you. I changed the subject and continued, you're here early. Don't tell me you died. After the kisses and my answer, I could feel the tension flow right out of Yinz. She looked at me and said, don't be silly, I didn't die, I kicked everyone's butt. I knew something was wrong and I figured out it was another woman flirting with you. I got so pissed off that every time I killed one of the competitors, I dreamed it was the 304 flirting with you. Why don't you introduce me? I'd like to thank her. I looked at Yinz and said, I just got out of a big jam, and we don't need you going to prison for killing that policewoman. Don't worry, my love. I know how to handle this and let her know that you're my man. She replied and pulled her engagement ring out from under her shirt, took it off the chain, and slipped it on her finger. As we walked over towards Muriel, Yinz had her hand around my arm, making sure that the diamond in the engagement ring was sparkling in the sun. I still wasn't sure about Yinz meeting her and what would happen. I needed to come up with a good introduction and do it fast. We walked up to Muriel and I said, Muriel, I'd like you to meet my fiancée, the only woman that I could ever love, Jennifer Donaldson. She's my spotter and the second deadliest person in the Marines right after me. She just finished winning the knife part of our sniper competition by easily killing all the competition in about half the time we figured it would take. Even under the face paint, Yinz was beaming. I could tell I came up with the right introduction. The iciness between them was evident. When they shook hands, I could tell that Yinz gave her a full recon handshake that almost brought Muriel to her knees and did bring a little tear to the corner of one of her eyes. I'm so pleased to meet you. When I called my daddy, General Donaldson, he told me how well you were taking care of my fiancé, Ben. I'd love to thank you for it in an appropriate manner, Yinz said, and even through the face paint giving her a look like she'd better not screw with me ever again. Ah, so she wasn't as much of a witch as I thought. She called Dad and he told her about Muriel. Shit, I bet he did that just to fire her up, that cagey old scumsucker. Yinz had let go of Muriel's hand, and she snatched it back. They continued talking and Yinz was telling her how wonderful I was and all the great things I had done only for her and no one else. How we were so much in love, and if another woman ever tried anything with me that Yinz would hunt her down and make her sorry that she ever lived. After the last comment, Muriel turned a little white, excused herself, and went over by the rest of the group. Yinz turned to me and said, see, I told you I could handle that. In fact, that was pretty fun and I hope I get to do it again sometime. Then she lightly slapped me on the face and said, by the way, Jarhead, I could tell there were a couple things that she did that you enjoyed. I want all the details later. Just remember what Mom told you, and don't forget after she's done with you it'd be my turn. Damn, she never lets me forget that she isn't only beautiful, she's also deadly. I helped her out of her ghillie suit. When she got it off, she noticed Muriel was watching, so she made sure to flip her flaxen hair and smooth down her MCCU used to accent her figure, and then gave me a smoldering kiss. Shit, even after everything I said, that 304 is still thinking about you. Maybe I'll go kick her butt, Yinz said. She pulled out some wet wipes and started taking off her face paint. I helped her to get the last parts of it off, especially her ears that of course tickled her, and she started laughing and squirming. When I was done, she looked fresh, young, and dazzling in the sunlight. It was warm, and she took off her MCCU shirt, making sure that Muriel saw her t-shirt that had an old-fashioned picture of a woman on it from the 50s and said, messing with my Marine can be hazardous to your health. I'd never even seen that t-shirt or Yinz wearing it and laughed my butt off when I saw it. Dad heard me laugh and came over to greet Yinz. He saw the t-shirt and started laughing too. Damn, that's not regulation. But I bet it made your point to Muriel, Dad said. He continued, you would have been so proud of Ben. Hell, I was. That woman was all over him, and even pinched his back once. He totally ignored her, and it was driving her crazy. Yinz didn't know whether to be pissed again or happy, so instead she gave me a kiss. Mike the DA and Robert the chief of police walked over, and this time, Yinz didn't go into her helpless woman act. They shook her hand, and she gave them both her recon handshake, causing them both to flinch. She looked at them and said, okay, you've heard my fiancé's story, kept him here all day, made him miss and drop out of the sniper competition, and generally messed up my whole day too. Unless you're going to charge him, I'm taking him home. They were both shocked at the change in Yinz, and I was a little worried that she'd screw up. But they both became all apologetic and told her many times how sorry they were. They said that I'd shot and killed 9 bikers, but it was all justified and no charges would be pressed. They knew we were leaving soon and recommended that we stay on the base until we left because they were sure that other bikers would be looking for us. We all went over to the press and Mike and Robert and Yince handled all the questions. It was good because I was getting really tired. Shit, I'd been up since 00:30 and didn't get much sleep when frickin' Dumb and Dumber were trying to interrogate me earlier. We finally finished and Yince lead me by the arm, the same way Muriel had done earlier, over to the waiting Humvee. I thought, damn, this is much nicer than when Muriel did this. Yince aren't as big, but they feel much better. Yince, of course, knew what I was thinking and said, that's right, Marine. My figure is way better than hers, and then she grabbed my arm and pulled it tightly against her. You know you can get close anytime you want, big guy. Yince laughed at me because it was hard to finish the walk to the Humvee with my embarrassment. I'm glad to see that I still excite you, she said. We hopped in the waiting Humvee and Yince apologized to the young kid driving. I guess she'd been bitchy to him earlier. Better her being bitchy to anyone else besides me. When we got home, Yince said, no offense, Ben, but you really stink and I'm going to make a nice bath for you while I get cleaned up and make a nice dinner for both of us. I couldn't remember the last time I took a bath instead of a shower, but Yince was pretty insistent about this and I was too tired to argue. She put a bunch of Epsom salts in my bathtub and ran the water until it was full and just the right temperature. Yince looked at with her mischievous look and said, you need any help getting undressed? I surprised her tonight and said, only if you can be a good girl. She promised and she was a good girl as she helped me undress, put on the cast cover, and then helped me into the tub. She then left to start dinner and shower. I was really enjoying the bath, and I bet it wasn't 5 minutes until I was fast asleep. I was still sawing logs when Yince came in and woke me up. Wow, you must really be tired. I called you 3 times, and when you didn't answer, I was worried. Come on, let's get you out of the tub. I made a nice dinner for both of us, then we'll go right to bed. I was still groggy when she helped me out of the tub. She even needed to lead me into the kitchen. Once I sat down and saw the food, I woke up. I looked at Yince and said, you made pizza tonight? I sure did. I know we had pizza just the other night, but it wasn't my pizza. I was too tired to make something special, Yince answered. Yince prayed and I sort of did something. She handed me a slice. I took the first bite and said, shit, this is the best pizza I've ever had. I could eat this all the time. Yince gave me a big smile. Thanks, hon. You should taste it when I have time to make my own sauce. It's even better. Now about what you said earlier. Now that you've tasted my pizza, are you going to marry me twice? You mean once isn't enough for you? I asked. You know me, once will never be enough, especially for the wedding night. Yince teased. I didn't blush this time. And with the way you drive me crazy, you think once will be enough for me? For once Yince looked surprised and even blushed. I guess I never thought about it. But now that you mention it, I suppose you're right. I continued. And you can forget about a romantic honeymoon someplace nice. After we're married, we're spending the first week in bed. All we'll need is clean sheets and room service. We'll go on our honeymoon after we've been married for 6 months and have simmered down some. Yince blushed even more. I said, you're going to make such a cute blushing bride, which made her blush even more. I sat back in my chair and smiled at her and said, got ya. Yince replied, oh yeah, mister, you're talking pretty big. You'd better be careful because I'm going to remember what you've told me, and I'll expect you to keep your words to me. Damn, I don't think I ever really win with Yince. We were done with dinner, and I wasn't as tired now. I looked at Yince and said, let's go to the living room. I need to talk. We cleaned up the kitchen and went into the living room. Yince sat on the couch and lay on the couch with my head in her lap. Once we got comfortable, Yince said, okay, what's up? You know I can tell that something's been bothering you all day. I looked at her and said, well, I'm a little upset because I just killed 9 civilians today. Even though they were scumcuckers, they were still civilians. You've seen my service record, and you know that the targets I've killed have either been military, narcotic, terrors, or real bad dictator-related. The problem is that it was too easy for me today, and I enjoyed it too much. Once they started shooting at me, my training kicked in and it all became automatic, and they didn't stand a chance. I've been thinking about it and analyzing it since the incident, and I'm wondering if what I did was right. Perhaps I should have tried harder to escape. I might have been able to reach the ocean and take off swimming. Perhaps I should have tried to wound them instead of going for the kill shot. Yince looked at me for a very long time and said, my dearest Ben, don't you realize that because you're worried about this that it shows that you don't have to worry? I looked at her like she was speaking Greek to me. Yince continued, yeah, I can tell you didn't understand that because I didn't say it very well. Let me first say what I think you're saying to me. Let me know if I'm right. I hear you telling me that you were worried about killing the scum-sucker bikers because they were civilians and that it was too easy for you and you enjoyed it? You're also second-guessing yourself and wondering if you could have avoided the situation. Am I correct? I nodded my head. She had it right. Yince continued, Ben, my love, first you've been a warrior your whole life. That's what your daddy taught you to be from the time you could walk. Think about everything you did with your dad and think about what he taught you. Am I right? I thought about my times with Dad, both the good and the bad times, and I could see the pattern that Yinz was talking about. I nodded my head again in affirmation. Then you joined the Marines, and what did they do? They built on your dad's training and made you even more of a warrior. Am I right? Yinz asked again. I thought about my training with the Corps, and Yinz was right. They had taken what Dad had shown me and expanded upon it, making me an even better warrior. I nodded my head again. Yinz continued. Tell me, do you have any problems with the people that the Corps or the three-letter government agencies have had you kill? I thought for a few minutes and I said, I see the face of every person that I've killed. They're like ghosts that haunt the furthest recesses of my mind. But other than the one narcotic runner's whole family, I don't have any regrets. Yinz looked down at me and said, I don't know about that mission, so for right now, we're not going to talk about that. You're a warrior, and you did what you're good at and what you were ordered to do. Your job is to follow orders and to kill bad people. Am I right? I thought and nodded my head. She looked at me and said, Were the bikers trying to kill you? I said, Duh, of course they were. Yinz continued pulling on my ear. Don't get smart with me. Do you deserve to die? I didn't even have to think about it. No, I don't deserve to die. Yinz smiled. I sure happy you didn't have to think about that answer. Otherwise, I was going to kick your butt. So if the bikers were trying to kill you, does that make them bad people? A light bulb went on in my head and I said, Damn, you're right. Because they shot first and tried to kill me, it makes them no different than most of the others I've killed. Yinz smiled really big and said, It's even more than that. You didn't get a chance to see the police records on those scumsuckers. They were all into some pretty nasty stuff. Narcotics, assault, trade, murder, and a bunch of other things I won't even mention. Shit, they weren't civilians. They were criminals. You should get a medal for taking out as many as you did. I thought about what she had said and felt a little better. Now to finish what I've been trying to say. When you shared with me that you questioned whether killing them was right, I was so proud of you. It told me that first, you're not the heartless son of a bitch killer that you pretend to be, and second, that even though you're a great warrior, you still have compassion. Yinz said, and somehow was able to bend over and give me a big kiss. One thing led to another. Yinz wiggled her way beside me on the couch. We started holding each other and necking hot and heavy until the exhaustion of the day crept in and we both fell asleep. Kadaba, Pakistan, evening of day 21. Wow, I can't believe it. The day is finally here after all these years. I should be nervous, but I'm not, because I've been waiting for this day forever. I look over at Jack, my best man, and he gives me the thumbs up. Finally, I hear the wedding processional, and I see Yinz at the back of the church. She looks so happy and beautiful in her white wedding dress. Huh, what the hell is that? Damn it, it's those guys waking me up. What a pain. That was such a nice dream. What a shock to go from dreaming about our wedding to this harsh reality. I can't believe I slept for so long. It must be because I was so happy after watching Mustaf die yesterday. That's one death that won't haunt me. Honestly, I think when I take care of the rest of these guys, I won't have any ghosts from them, either. With Mustaf gone and the Imam on my side, I'm hoping things will improve for me with Hussein. I'll have to keep an eye on that Imam, though. He seems pretty smart compared to the others. I suspect he was educated in America. It really frustrates me when our enemies use our own educational system against us. I've finally worked out the details of our escape. That's right, I said our. I'm planning on getting Zarika out of this hellhole with me. Shit, the plan relies on her as much as it does on me. I just need two things from her, and then I need the opportunity. It's great that we can both communicate in Russian and that no one else can, as a bonus. My Russian has become even better since I've been using it so much. It's the same routine every day. Sometimes I wonder if they're trying to kill me with boredom. 3 guards take me downstairs and tie me to the chair, and Zarika comes in and takes care of me and brings me some food. Then, either the Imam or Hussein come in and talk to me. If there ever was a hell, this would be it. My dreams of home and my conversations with Zarika are the only high points of the day. The only good thing is, because I haven't tried to escape, the guards are getting careless. Zarika seems much happier today, with Mustaf gone, and was quite talkative. During our conversations, I was able to slip in my plan for escape, and damn, she got excited. Almost too much. It attracted the guard's attention, and he started watching us very closely. After he got bored of listening to our Russian, Zarika said that she would be able to do the 2 things I needed. It would take her the rest of today to figure out the first thing, but that the second part would be easy. The Imam came again today. We talked some and I asked him if we could play some chess like I used to do with Mustaf. He thought it was a great idea and had Zarika bring the chessboard and then had the guard untie my left arm. Damn, he was really good at chess. I realized I'll have to be very careful about bullshitting him. He'll figure it out. I couldn't believe he spent 2 hours here again, trying to convince me that his beliefs are superior to all others and attempting to change my mind. Keep trying, you scumsucker. One of these days, I'm going to send you to hell to be with your God. Zarika didn't come in for a while after the imam left. I thought about singing my death song, but I figured she might be trying to figure out my first question to her, so I just sat around bored and did nothing. Finally, she came in with dinner and was smiling. She told me she found what I needed, but it would take a couple of days for her to figure out a way to get it for me. We talked all day, and then, just like the other days, the guards escorted me up to my bed and tied me down tight. I asked Zarika if she could stay for a while tonight, and she looked at the floor and told me that Hussein expected her to be in bed and waiting for him when he came to bed, and if she wasn't there before he was, he'd beat her. She kissed me on the cheek and left, leaving me to lie on the bed waiting for my dream reprieve from this hellhole. It finally came. Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii, Thursday, day 21. I was enjoying holding my bin on the couch this morning. Wow, I couldn't believe what he shared with me last night before we started necking and fell asleep. I'm sure he's never shared that with anyone and must really love and trust me to open up so much. Damn, my killing machine marine has a heart and compassion. I guess I always knew that, but for him to tell me, well, let me just say that it made me really want him. Huh, what's that noise? I've never heard it before and it's sort of funny sounding. Shit, I think we've got company. I cover Ben's mouth and whisper in his ear. Ben, wake up. I think we've got some uninvited guests. Shit, that's a hell of a way to wake up. Damn, Yince was right. I could hear someone or something outside. I slipped off the couch with Yince, reached underneath it, and pulled out the M1014 shotgun for me and handed Yince a Kimber and 3 extra mags. We're pretty well hidden here, so I decided to just wait and see what would happen. Damn, it sounded like noise from the back, too. What the hell was going on? I gave Yince a hand signal to cover the front door, and I snuck around to see what the noise was at the sliding glass back door. I kept crouched as I slowly moved around to peek through the glass and, shit, it's a frickin' seagull pecking at the door. Son of a bitch, that freaked me out. I had just stood up and motioned to Yince that everything was okay when the front doorbell rang, almost giving both of us a coronary. I motioned for Yince to stay hidden and cover the front door, then I slowly walked over to it. The doorbell rang again and again. Damn, whoever it was, they were sure impatient. I checked the peephole and saw that it was Dad and Mom. I lowered the shotgun and let them in. Damn, it took you long enough to answer the door, Dad said as they walked in. Yince answered, putting away the Kimber. Well, we were sort of busy. Mom clucked, making grandchildren for us, I hope. No, ma'am, I answered. You're going to have to wait until we're married before you can start thinking about grandchildren. Yince woke me up because she heard a funny noise that sounded like someone trying to break in. I listened and couldn't tell what it was, so we both armed ourselves. Then we heard the same sound at the back door. I crept around and saw that it was a seagull pecking on the glass. We just relaxed when you rang the doorbell and freaked us both out again. Dad laughed. Those damned seagulls are worse than the rats. I don't know how many times Evelyn had me get up in the early morning to chase those scumsuckers away. He rubbed his hands together. How about a cup of coffee? I answered, well, we sort of slept in. Yince interrupted. Speak for yourself. I've been up for an hour. I continued. And we haven't made any yet. I'll run right out to the kitchen and take care of it. I put the coffee on and stood in the door watching Yince and her parents talk. They had such an easy and natural relationship. To know that now I was included in their close family filled my heart with joy that I hadn't felt in years. Maybe I was becoming soft. Yince looked over at me and smiled, and I could tell she knew what I was thinking. She leaned over and whispered something to Dad. He started laughing and said, shit, that'll be the day, when Bonsai Bin gets soft. He looked at me and continued, son, after what you did yesterday, there's no way in hell you're getting soft. So get that bullshit out of your mind. Officially, the police are all pissed off about all the shooting, but both the chief and the DA wanted me to tell you they are happy those scumsuckers are off the street permanently. I forgot to tell you, they picked up the other 4 that took off last night, and that looks to be the last of the biker gang. However, they do want both of you to stay on the base until you leave on Saturday. I wished I would have paid more attention in school to my English teachers, because then at times like this I'd be able to come up with something witty to say. Instead, I just stood there looking and feeling stupid. Yince, of course, figured out what I was thinking. She walked over, and this time slapped the hell out of me. Come on, jarhead. Stop putting yourself down again. Damn, Yince still has some fire in her, and I'm glad because I sort of missed it. I guess it's just more directed now than it used to be. I grabbed her and gave her a big kiss. It even scared her a little bit. What was that for? She asked. I was worried from the way you've been treating me for the last day that you turned into some sort of meek mouse. I'm glad to see that the old Yince that I know and love is still around, I answered. That was too much for Dad and Mom. They both started laughing so hard they had tears coming out of their eyes. Finally, Mom was able to say, "Did you hear that, Glenn? Damn, that's the funniest thing anyone has ever said about our Jennifer. I can't believe he called her a meek mouse." Dad answered, "I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't hear it with my own ears. I think that one's going to have to be told at their wedding." Too bad Ben doesn't realize that Yince is really a tiger playing with her prey, and he's her prey. I guess I didn't understand the joke. Compared to the old Yince, she had been treating me much differently, and I was glad to see that the old Yince was still around. Yince figured out I was confused and whispered in my ear, "Don't worry, Marine. The old Yince is always right under the surface, and when you do something stupid, you can bet that she'll come out and let you know. It's just that she's not needed very often, and it's much more fun being nice to you than slapping you around. Besides, this way, you'll remember it better when she does come out." Her violet eyes twinkled. "Come on, you two. Stop gawking at each other and kiss," Mom said. It sounded like a good idea, so that's what we did. In fact, it was so nice, we did it twice. "Damn," Dad said. "Did you have to get them going again, Evelyn?" "Okay, you two, cut it out. We have important things to talk about." We broke the embrace and walked over by Mom and Dad. He continued, "I tried my best, but with Ben missing the competition yesterday, he's out as a sniper. It's a shame, because even with the injury, I think you might have been able to come in at least second. However, because yesterday was an individual competition, he's still allowed to be a spotter for Yince during the snipe-off. Yince, you have a good lead, and if you're smart and careful, you should win this. And it doesn't stop Ben from helping you with today's competition, martial arts. Yince, you need to listen to him and let him help you." Yince shot her dad a look that said, "Duh, don't you think I'll listen to him?" He looked back at her and said, "Young lady, don't give me that attitude. You're still not too old to take over my knee and spank." I couldn't keep my mouth shut, so I piped up, "I threatened to order her to spank herself last night." Yince punched me in the good arm. That set Dad and Mom off on another laughing fit. Mom said, "Stop. This is too funny. You two are going to kill us. Glenn, go ahead and order her to spank herself." "I'd love to see that." Dad thought about it, looked at her and said, "Sorry, Evelyn. I'd love to do that, but she'd figure out a way to make my life hell." Yince looked relieved. "Don't you two need to be doing something other than that harassing me?" she suggested. They both sort of apologized to Yince, in between small chuckles. They kissed Yince goodbye and gave me big hugs. "Jennifer, have a great day at the competition today," Mom said. "Kick butt and take names, Marine," Dad ordered. We said goodbye, and the minute they left, Jen jumped on me and we started wrestling. Damn, it was hard wrestling with her with one arm in a cast. "I don't believe that you told them you thought about ordering me to spank myself. You know that Mom will talk Dad into doing that someday," Yince said as she pinned me to the floor because I was laughing so hard. Finally, Yince saw the humor in it and started laughing, too, and wrestling turned into necking. After a few minutes, I told Yince, "We need to get you ready for today." "I'm ready for you right now," Yince purred. "Come on, Yince. I have a surprise for you today," I answered. Because Yince loves surprises, she jumped right up and pulled me to my feet. "Now, you're not going to torture me and make me wait for my surprise this time, are you? Follow me, and you can have it right now," I answered, walking into my old bedroom. I opened the closet, pulled out the hanger with Yince's surprise on it, and handed it to her. She looked at it, and her eyes started twinkling. "Wow, this is a really nice silk robe. And look, my name's on the back. Jump in, Yince." True to her name, she started jumping around. She put on the robe and started twirling. "Oh, I love this. I feel just like a boxer." She started shadow boxing me like she was a real boxer. "Hey, back off, Hillary," I said. Yince stopped and looked at me. "Hillary?" "Yeah, Hillary Swank. Because you're my $1,000,000 baby," I said, referring to the popular movie. "Police, you've got to stop comparing me to those Hollywood 304s. They're so fake." "Shit. She couldn't have punched her way out of a paper bag," Yince said. "Then put up or shut up," I said, holding my left hand up for a target. Yince whipped out 4 punches so fast that I could hardly see them, nailing my hand each time. "Is that all you've got?" I teased. The next 2 punches were almost as fast, and she put her whole body behind them. Damn, those 2 actually stung. She was pumped up. Okay. Save some for the competition," I said. "Woohoo, that was so much fun. I can't wait until you're well. I want to fight you," she said. I thought, yep, definitely psycho. Hey, I felt that. At least you left off the bitch part. Yinz started dancing around again, shadowboxing me. Damn. Giving Yinz that robe turned her into a boxing maniac. At least I was saved by the phone. I answered it with Yinz was still circling and throwing punches at me. It was Dad. We talked for a couple minutes. I started laughing as I hung up the phone. Damn. He has more balls than I do. Yinz stopped and asked me, "Who was that, hon?" It was Dad. And before you ask, all I can tell you about what he said is that it has something to do with a surprise for you at today's competition, I answered. She was going to start bugging me about the surprise before I gave her a look that told her there was no way in hell I would tell her what it was. At least it stopped her shadowboxing. I looked at the clock and said, "Well, it looks like we'll need to get moving so we're not late. You go and shower, and I'll do the same." I laughed when I walked into the living room and saw Yinz's t-shirt. It read, "Sniper," and underneath, "No need to run, you'll only die tired." I don't know where she gets all those t-shirts, but they're certainly entertaining. I grabbed Yinz's bag and helped her on with her new robe. Since the competition was at the gym, we held hands and started slowly walking towards it, and yes, our escort jumped out of their Humvee and followed us. For once, it was sort of nice knowing they were around. The press was in full force, but they didn't see us until we were almost to the door. Then it was pandemonium, with all of them wanting to ask questions at the same time. I held up my hand like I'd seen Dad do, and it worked. They all shut up. I know that you have many questions for us, but today's competition is very important for Yinz, and she can't be distracted. After it's over, we'll be happy to answer all your questions. Of course, they didn't really believe what I said, and still tried to talk to us. I lead Yinz through the throng and into the gym packed mostly with Marines. The minute they saw us, they started shouting, "Ora! Ora! Ora!" This got Yinz fired up. She held her hands over her head and started running around the gym, which of course got the Marines even more fired up, and they started with the cadence. Back in 1775, my Marine Corps came alive. First there came the color gold, to show the world that we are bold. Then there came the color red, to show the world the blood we shed. Then there came the color green, to show the world that we are mean. Then there came the color blue, to show the world that we are true. Oh yeah, Marine Corps. Your Corps. My Corps. Shit. I even got excited. On Yinz's second lap around the gym, I joined in running with her and started singing. The other Marines joined in. "Paint my face black and green. You won't see me, I'm a recon Marine. I slipped and slithered in through the night. You won't see me till I'm ready to fight. You'll run in the bushes, you'll try to hide. That's why you are sure to die. You won't see me till it's too late. A flash of my blade will be your fate." Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yinz was having so much fun that she would have spent all day running around, but I needed to get her focused on the competition. So after the last lap, I lead her over towards our bench. I turned her towards me and said, "Okay, Marine, you've had your fun. Now it's time to get serious. Who's gonna win this competition?" "I am, sir," Yinz answered. "How are you going to win this competition?" I asked. "By overcoming, adapting, and persevering," she answered. She was focused and ready to fight. It was that time that Dad chose to walk up with his surprise. Yinz took one look at Muriel Hathaway and instantly became pissed. Muriel purred, "Hello, Ms. Donaldson, and hello, Ben. It's so good to see you again. There are several more questions that we needed to ask you, and General Donaldson said I could come here and ask them and watch the competition." She shook my hand and gave me a big smile. I couldn't believe it. She looked even bitchier than she had the other day. Her V-neck top was cut even lower, and her dress was even shorter. I could see a twinkle in Dad's eyes. Damn, he was pushing all of Yinz's buttons and loving every minute of it. "Excuse me a minute, Muriel. I'll be right back." I grabbed Yinz and took her over to the side for a talk. Yinz fumed. "What's that bitch doing here? I'm gonna kick her butt." She started pulling away from me to do just that. I grabbed her. "Hey, jarhead. You want to be thrown out of the competition? You do what you're thinking of doing, and not only will you be kicked out of the competition, you'll go to jail. If you want to do anything, show Muriel that you're not only more beautiful and sexy than she is, but you're also more dangerous." Yinz was still pissed, but the beautiful and sexy comment made her smile at me. "Now, take all that energy that you have and focus it on the competition. Show Muriel what you're going to do to her if she tries screwing with us," I said. I looked in Yinz's eyes and I was worried. I'd never seen this look in her eyes before. I'm sure it's the look that a mouse sees right before the rattlesnake strikes. She looked past me at Muriel and said, "You make sure you stay at least 3 feet away from her. I don't want her slimy meat hooks on my man." Shit, that bitch has her claws on Daddy now. It's a good thing Mom isn't here to see this. Otherwise, that bitch would be dead. I took her face between my hands and looked into her beautiful violet eyes. "Yinz, Forget about her and focus on the competition. Come on. Where's my $1 million baby? That snapped her out of it and got her back into things. Of course, she also started shadow boxing me again, causing the Marines in the crowd to go crazy. I went over and got a practice mitt, put it on my left hand and held it up. Whap, 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 shit. It felt like a machine gun was hitting the glove. She was so fast. I took 2 steps back and directed, okay, feet, and Yinz kicked the shit out of the practice mitt. Damn, she was cooking today. I put down the practice mitt and got a body shield and held it up. I barely got it up before she was attacking it with a flurry of fists, feet, elbows, knees, and headbutts. She was ready, but she wasn't done. I saw her look over at her dad and Muriel, and with a wicked gleam in her eyes, she shadow boxed her way over to them and started harassing the hell out of them, concentrating on Muriel. She was freaking the hell out of Muriel. I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing. I was just hoping that Muriel didn't do something stupid like try to fight back. At that moment, I think Yinz could have kicked even my butt. By the time the whistle finally signaled that the warm-up was over, Yinz had a nice sheen of sweat on her. She was more than ready. She was scary. The competition was your basic double elimination tournament, with the pairings being decided by draw. I wiped her down with a towel and pulled a new GI out of the bag for her. I held it up so the crowd could see, and all the Marines started going crazy. Yep, it had a she-devil dog embroidered on the back, with the name Jumpin' Yinz under it. I showed it to her, and it was all she could do to not jump into my arms. I helped her into the new GI, and she couldn't resist giving me a big hug, which of course got the crowd going with whistles and catcalls. I helped her into all the protective gear and admonished, calm down some. Remember, this is a competition and not real. If you go out there too fired up and hurt someone, they might disqualify you. Remember, you're much faster when you throw light punches and kicks instead of full power blows. Yinz looked at me and just nodded. She had in a mouth guard. Yinz drew the largest of the competitors for her first opponent, the spotter for the first Spetsnaz team. I started talking to her. Watch out for this guy. The Spetsnaz are really tough and have excellent martial arts skills. He's going to do things that you won't believe a guy his size can do. Watch him and keep moving. You're going to be faster than he is. Yinz wasn't the only one fighting at this time. There were many matches going on at once, but all my attention, and most of the crowd's, was on Yinz. She and her opponent met in the middle of the mat, and the referee blew his whistle. The Spetsnaz guy dropped and tried to catch Yinz with a leg sweep, but she saw it coming, jumped up in the air, and nailed him in the chest with one foot, the face with the other foot, and did a backflip landing facing him. I was shocked. I'd never seen her do anything like that. The stands erupted with cheers. He looked stunned. She already had 2 major points against him. The rest of the match was the same slaughter. She didn't just kick his butt. She mopped the floor with it. He did score some points when Yinz made a few mistakes, but the final score was Yinz, 15, Spetsnaz, 8. Yinz came over to our bench, and I took the mouthguard and handed her a water bottle. I'm damn proud of you, Marine. Way to start off. He was one of the toughest competitors you're going to face. But let's go over your mistakes. Yinz listened closely to what I said and asked a few questions to clarify. There was a 30-minute break before the next competition, and Dad came over to congratulate Yinz. Good job, Jennifer. I'm proud of you, he said. Thank God he left Muriel up in the stands. Yinz was beaming. Thanks, Daddy. That was so much fun. I just wish it would have lasted longer. When he left, Yinz confided. He only calls me Jennifer when it's really important. I walked over to look at the bracket. Yinz was going to face an SAS guy from the UK next. He would be tough, but not as sneaky as the Spetsnaz was. Jen was up warming up when I got back and told her who she was facing. She looked at me, shit. This guy's going to be really tough. He's small and fast. We talked about strategy for the match and came up with something that we hoped would work. Yinz and the SAS guy met in the middle of the mat. The referee blew the whistle, and the SAS guy dropped back into a defensive position. Shit, this was one of those guys who like to wait for you to attack and then counterattack, looking for mistakes. I hate fighting those. Yinz dropped back, too, and they looked at each other for about 2 minutes. It was pretty funny. I was wondering if either one was going to do anything. Finally, Yinz dropped into a comfortable stance and baited him. Come on. You can't be scared of a little woman like me. Maybe it's true that SAS stands for stupid and scared. Well, that fired him up, and he came flying at Yinz. She may not have looked ready, but she was, and scored 5 points off of his charge, while he scored nada. The crowd went wild again. His strategy was screwed now. If he didn't attack, she could just sit back and win with her 5-point lead. He became a whirling dervish of attacks. Yinz was backing up and counterattacking the best that she could, but his assault was almost overwhelming. Finally, he nailed her right in the nose, and she went down hard. The referee blew his whistle and stopped the competition. Yinz got up with blood streaming from her nose. I started after the shithead to beat him to death, but Dad, where the hell did he come from? Stepped in front of me. Marine, I order you to stand down. The crowd was booing the SAS guy. The referee not only awarded the fight to Yinz, he threw the SAS scumsucker out of the competition. Yinz came over to the bench, and the on-call doctor came up to check her out. I went over, and this time it was my turn to comfort and hold her. Her nose wasn't broken, but it was sure bleeding. The doctor used a package of nosebleed QR on her, and she stopped bleeding almost immediately. She looked at me and said, "Thanks. Honorable, if that scumsucker had broken my nose, I would have broken his balls." I was going to kill the scumsucker, but Dad stopped me. I told her. She laughed. "Damn, we just got you out of trouble with the police, and now you want to jump right back into it." The good news was that because the match was only half over when the shithead almost broke her nose, she had extra time to rest and recover. She laid on the bench with her head in my lap and an ice bag on her face. I looked at her every few minutes to make sure she was going to be okay. The last time I checked her, I smiled. She asked, "What was that for?" "I'm thinking I'll need to call you Maya Malankea and not after this is over, at least for a while. I know Maya means Maya and Malankea means little, but what the hell is an anat?" She asked. I answered, "It's Russian for raccoon." "Shit," she swore. "Give me a mirror." We finally found a mirror, and she looked at it, and yep, she had the start of two nice black eyes. Man, she was pissed. "I think I'll find that scumsucker and gut him with a dull cabber. I'm going to look like hell with two black eyes." I knew that I could use some help, and I'd noticed Dad had been watching us. Still holding Yinz, I motioned for him to get his butt down there, right now. Yinz was so upset she was shaking, and I was holding her tight. For an old fart, he's pretty quick. He reached us and snapped, "Tin Hut, Marines." We both jumped up and snapped to attention. He took one look at his daughter, and I could see that he was trying not to laugh. "Jennifer, I wanted to tell you how proud your mom and I are of you today." Yinz looked up in the stands. Her mom and Muriel waved at her. I'm not sure it helped much to see Muriel with her mom. Dad continued, "Now, I know you're pissed as hell about having two black eyes, but I'm asking you to simmer down and not do something stupid that will get you in trouble." I guess Dad figured out the whole asking thing with Yinz too. It worked. She was still shaking, but I could tell she was calming down, and so could Dad. "At ease. Why don't you go ahead and give Ben a hug? I think he needs it." She jumped into my arms and gave me a great hug. "Thanks, my love, for knowing what I really needed," she said. We went back to the bench, and she laid with her head in my lap and the ice bag on her face. It would help some, but she was definitely going to look like in a knot for several weeks, and even though it would be fun to tease her a little about it, I was smart enough to know better. I took the ice bag off her face. You know, guys really dig chicks with scars and black eyes. That was what she needed to hear. Her whole face lit up, and she said, "Cool. Maybe I'll get some more scars just for you." "I know. I'll even have our baby C-section. Then I'll have a great scar. Besides, that way I'll stay nice and tight." Then she put the ice pack back on her face. I blushed and opened my mouth to reply, but I couldn't think of what to say. Then I heard from under the ice pack, "Gotcha. You're so cute when you blush." She wriggled her head against my body. My Yinz was back. Yinz worked her way through the rest of the competition without any more injuries, but she was starting to have some pretty good black eyes, and the competition was taking its toll on her. She was tired, and I'm sure she had a few bruises. Shit. I didn't blame her, having to fight people larger than her all day long without being able to breathe well because of her nose. Finally, it was her against the Canadian sniper for first and second place. I talked to her on the bench. "Yinz, you need to be smart here. You have a large enough lead that you don't need to beat this guy. You're tired, and I want you to be careful and take it easy. You need to make sure you don't get hurt. Save something for tomorrow's competition." She gazed at me and kissed me on the cheek. "I know you're right, but it's so hard not to always do my best. But I'm damn tired." I thought for a moment before replying. "Remember the SAS a-hole that smacked your nose?" She crossed her eyes to look at her swollen nose and said, "Duh, of course I do. Hey, don't get smart with me, or I just might spank you." I replied. She just looked at me, too tired for a witty comeback. So I continued. "I want you to fight him exactly like the SAS jerk fought you. So I should break his frickin' nose?" She laughed. "Come on, you know what I mean. Fight totally defensive and make him come to you." "Shit, I bet he's tired too, and will make mistakes. Just be alert and take advantage of them," I answered. I had said all that I could, and for once, I wish that I knew how to pray. Yince was going to need it. Right as she was leaving me, I whispered in her ear, I'm so damn proud of you. You're getting a surprise tonight. She turned and looked at me, and I could almost see tears in her eyes. I nodded my head, and she knew I meant it. Damn, I wish that I was fighting instead of her. She's strong, but this is almost too much to ask her to do. The two combatants reached the center of the mat. My tired little Yince against a much larger Canuck. I'm sure that he thought this was going to be easy, but I knew Yince, and I knew that somehow, even as tired as she was, she would find a way to fight. The referee blew his whistle, and the match started. Yince acted like she could barely raise her arms and moved back into a defensive position. He lunged forward, and she slipped out of his way and slapped him on the side of his head as he passed, and then nailed him with an elbow in the back. He was shocked. She just scored 2 points. They set up again, but this time Yince didn't look tired. Damn, her whole tired routine was an act, and it even fooled me. She did, however, fight a mainly defensive fight. At the end, he'd won by 1 point, but Yince had given it her best. After the fight, I saw that it wasn't as much of an act as I'd thought. She was whipped, she was bloody, she was sweaty. Her hair was a mess, she looked like a raccoon, and I had never loved her more than at that moment. After the referee was done announcing the winner, I ran to her side and scooped her up. It was damn hard with the cast, but I carried her around the gym in her victory lap. The Marines stood and cheered, giving her the ovation that she so richly deserved. She waved to them, and not so much that anyone else could see, even crying a bit. Dad, Mom, and Muriel met us at the end of the lap. Yince was so tired that she didn't even give Muriel any crap, but I noticed newfound respect in Muriel's eyes, and she sure didn't try hitting on me this time. I'm taking Yince right home to take care of her. Will one of you grab our gear and hump it to the Humvee for me? I asked. Dad grabbed the gear, and we both walked out to the Humvee. I was still carrying Yince. She had molded herself against me, and it felt really good. I thought, damn, it's funny having the general carry the gear for a sergeant. Mom and Muriel followed us out. Muriel got the passenger door for me, and I gently sat Yince in the seat. Mom and Dad gave her a kiss and congratulated her. And I'll be damned if Muriel didn't shake her hand and mention how impressed she was by Yince's fighting. Driving the Humvee home was interesting with the cast on, but I got us there safely. Yince had fallen asleep and didn't even wake up when I stopped at the house. I went around to her side and opened the door, steadying her with one hand so that she didn't fall out, scooped her up again, and carried into the house. Somehow, I was even able to get the front door open without waking her. I carried her into her bathroom and said, "Come on, my love, time to wake up." Yince blinked her eyes a couple times and murmured, "Wow, we're home. I don't even remember the drive." "Well, you were snoring the whole way home," I replied. "I don't know who you're talking about, but it isn't me." "I don't snore," she said, a little indignant. I sat her on the toilet and started running water for her bath, throwing a couple big handfuls of Epsom salts into the water, along with some bubble bath she had sitting on the edge of the tub. When the water was just perfect, I helped her undress and get into the tub. Damn, she had some pretty good bruises from all the fighting. "I'll be back in a couple of minutes with a surprise, so don't fall asleep," I told her, and of course, the surprise part woke her up even more, and she wanted to know what it was. "Wait a couple minutes, and you'll see," I promised. I ran into my room and changed into my swimming trunks, put on my cast cover, and headed back into her bathroom, stopping for a minute to make her a quick cosmopolitan, and picked up a bucket from the kitchen. She looked at me funny. "Don't tell me after all this you want to go swimming?" I smiled at her and handed her the cosmopolitan. "Nope, we're not. Enjoy yourself and slide forward in the tub. I'm going to give you a bath. I know it won't be very good because of this damn cast, but I'll try my best." She took a big gulp of the drink and slid forward in the tub, and I was able to get in behind her without falling and hurting both of us. I'm sure it would have been pretty comical to watch. I ran more hot water into the bucket, had Yince lean forward, dumped it over her head, and started giving her the best one-handed shampoo that I could. I guess it was pretty good, because she was making little sounds of approval. I rinsed her hair twice and then worked in some cream rinse, deciding to leave it on for a while. I soaped up a washcloth really good, had Yince lean back against my chest, and started washing her face. Damn, she looked funny with those raccoon eyes. She stopped me and took the washcloth and showed me the right way to wash a face so I wouldn't give her wrinkles. I rinsed off her face and her hair and then grabbed her loofah, soaked it up, and started scrubbing the hell out of her, being careful with the bruises. I even gently washed her body, which she enjoyed entirely too much. To be truthful, I did too, but I wasn't quite ready yet to wash down there, even though she really thought I should. After I was done washing her, she leaned back against my chest, and we just relaxed until the bathwater started getting cold. She started crying and I asked her, "What's wrong, my love?" "Ben, I'm not crying because I'm sad. I'm crying because I'm so happy. Do you know how wonderful you are?" She answered, "I just did what seemed natural for me to do for the woman I love. I don't see anything wonderful about that." I said. She twisted and kissed me on the cheek. "That makes it even more wonderful." I got out of the tub and dried off. Even though Yince wanted to help, I wouldn't let her. "Wait right here, Yince. I need to go put on some clothes. Then I will help to dry you off." As I walked to my room, I thought, as much as the cast bothered me during the competition, it bothers me more now because I can't really take care of my Yince the way I'd like to. I hit the cast a couple times, hoping to break it so I could take it off. Yince yelled from her bathroom, "Are you screwing with that cast again?" I laughed and wished and hoped for the day that I could feel her like she could feel me. I changed into my normal sleep shorts and a t-shirt, one of my favorites. At the bottom in big yellow letters it said, "Celebrate diversity," and above that, it had pictures of 18 different handguns. I love to wear this t-shirt in public because of the looks and comments I received, and I enjoyed telling people that asked that, yes, I'd found and fired all 18 of the handguns on the shirt. I walked back into Yince's bathroom, and she gave me a big smile from the tub. I helped her up and dried her off the best I could with one hand. Well, she did help some. She refused to dry her, forcing me to do it, and perhaps I took a little more time than necessary to make sure they were dry, but if she wasn't complaining, and I sure wasn't going to either. She tried pulling the same trick with her other parts, but I told her those were still off limits, and if she didn't dry them she might get chapped lips. Of course, she blushed and took care of that. I helped her into her robe and carried her into the kitchen, almost banging her head on the door. Dad had taken care of the dinner that night, and it was waiting in the oven. I sat her in her chair and pulled the waiting food out of the oven. I don't know when he did it, but damn, he made some nice-looking steaks. I grabbed the potato salad that Mom had made out of the fridge and a couple of Guinness beers, poured them, and sat at the table. Yince bowed her head to pray, and for the first time, I sort of did too. I thanked whatever God it was that brought Yince into my life. Then I raised my glass in a toast. Here's to King Solomon, ruler and sage, the wisest of men in history's page. He had wives by the thousand, and thought it was fun. Here's hoping I'll know how to handle just one. We clicked our glasses and Yince gave me her mischievous look. When God made man, he made him out of string. He had a little left, so he left a little thing. When God made woman, he made her out of lace. He didn't have enough, so he left a little place. Here's to God. We clicked again, and Yince sipped her beer while I gulped mine down and looked at her through the bottom of my glass. Yince looked at me like I was crazy and asked, "What the hell are you doing now?" "I'm seeing if you look even more beautiful through beer goggles," I said, and we both started laughing. I jumped up and grabbed another beer out of the fridge, and Yince asked, "Well, do I?" I turned and looked at her and said, "Nope, nothing can improve on you. You're perfect." Yince jumped up and gave me a big hug, and of course that led into kissing. At least this time we didn't start rolling around on the floor. I felt that. "You really, really, really meant it this time, didn't you?" Yince asked after one particularly good kiss. I hadn't thought about it, but I could see she was right. Yeah, I guess that it did feel different this time. "Hey, come on. We need to eat. The food is getting cold." I wanted to feed Yince, not like the sexy time in the hotel, but just to show her how much I cared. But this damned cast made it hard enough for me to eat by myself. I'm sure there will be other chances for me to do that. The bath, food, and drinks had Yince feeling normal again. She got all excited about the competition and was reliving each fight with me, even though I had been there. It was so good to see her back to her old self. We cleaned up the dishes together, headed back to our bedroom, and slipped into bed. Yes, Yince was still nude. She rolled towards me and looked in my eyes. I could tell she was concerned about something. I waited for her to speak. Finally, she said, "I just realized that the whole time you gave me a bath, even when you attacked my body and then when you dried me off and attacked them some more, your little Marine never came to attention and saluted me. Don't you find me attractive anymore?" I gave her a smoldering kiss and reached up with my hands. I was going to tell you that I ordered him to behave, but while that would be a great joke, it wouldn't be the truth, and that would piss you off. So I'm going to tell you the truth, but first you have to promise me you won't get pissed at me. She looked at me and said, "I promise you I won't get pissed." And I really mean it. I could tell that she did. Well, I knew that if I thought about you, there was no way in hell that I wouldn't have had an excitement from here to the mainland. So, and I know you're not going to like this, I pretended that you were either my ex or Muriel when I was doing that, and it worked. I waited for the shit to hit the fan. Yince gave me a look I had never seen, and it worried me even more. Then the smile slowly crept across her face and she said, "You wouldn't have been excited by either of them? You saw the results then." And, I added, "You can check the results now if you want." She looked deeply into my eyes as her hand reached and she said, "Wow, you are really telling the truth. You aren't attracted to anyone other than me." I nodded my head. She smiled. "All that I can say is, my hard man is good to find." We both started laughing. I moved her hand before things got too far out of control, then I spooned her, and she made sure my hand was on her body and wouldn't let me take it off. I kept trying, and she chided, "Silly jarhead. Don't you know that's one of the places that your hand belongs when we're sleeping?" And yes, I still had the excitement, and that's how we fell asleep. Kadaba, Pakistan, evening of day 22. I can't sleep. At least I'm awake before the guard and can do a bit of exercise in the bed by pulling against the ropes and doing isometric exercises for other parts of my body. When my shirt is off and I look down at my chest, all I see are ribs. I feel as if they've ruined me. I've lost so much muscle and weight these last weeks. I wonder if I will ever gain it back. I feel sick about half the time I'm awake. I suffer with bouts of chills and headaches and have diarrhea all the time. I've tried to figure out what I have, but the symptoms aren't like anything I've ever had before. But with all the crap they've done to me and fed me and the rat bites, there's no telling what sort of nasty bugs I've contracted. I'm still bullshitting the guards and pretending to be even sicker than I am. Ah, I hear the other guards coming and sleepyhead guard is waking up. Good. Zarika is with them and is smiling. It's not as good as a smile from Yints would be, but she is the only one here who smiles. The daily routine starts that I've been going through for the last few days, and the boredom sets in. There is one difference today. Zarika seems to have the twinkle of anticipation in her eyes. Damn, I can't wait until we can talk. Finally, I'm tied to my chair and Zarika is back with our food. As we're eating, she tells me she found what I need, but it will take several days for her to bribe the guards so they will give it to her. My stomach turns. I know what she means when she says, bribe the guards. She's going to have to let them screw her again. I guess we're each going through our own hell. The imam comes again with more of his religious bullshit. I feign a little interest today just to keep him on my side. As he is leaving, Hussein comes in and they have a long conversation. My little spy Zarika is listening intently, so I know I'll get a report when they leave. When they're finally gone, Zarika hurries over to me with a big grin. "Ben, you've completely tricked them. They believe you're thinking about joining their group, and now Hussein has been told to treat you even better. It takes all my strength not to spit on the floor. The only thing I want to do is send the imam and all his followers in hell." She's heard it before, but it still makes her giggle whenever she does. We spend the rest of the day talking. She asks more questions about America than before, and this time I ask her questions about Tajikistan. At dinner, she surprises me by bringing in a pomegranate and feeding it all to me. It's the first time I've had fruit since I was captured, and it tastes like candy to me. I make a total pig out of myself, making slurping noises. Zarika finds this incredibly funny and giggles like a child. I have another surprise tonight when the guards take me upstairs. Zarika lies down beside me for about 10 minutes. She told the guards I am sick and need to be kept warm. It was a sweet thing for her to do, but it has flooded my mind with memories of similar times with Yints. After she leaves, it takes a very long time for me to chase my memories into sleep. Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii, Friday day 22. I awakened that morning to the realization that I'm a different man. The changes have happened so gradually that I didn't realize what was happening. At least, not until last night, when it all reached a tipping point. For the first time in years, I didn't fall right to sleep. I was holding Yints close to me with my hand on her body. She wouldn't let me remove it, and she dropped right off to sleep. I struggled for most of the night with the demons in my head, but these weren't the demons of the many men I had killed come back to haunt me. The battle I fought was much harder. It was between my love for Yints and wanting to wake her up and act on that love, against the promises I'd made and my honor. Early in the morning, when the night was old, the promises and the honor won out, and I drifted off to sleep. Buzz damn, it's the alarm clock. Where's my Kimber? I want to shoot that damned piece of shit. I think I just went to sleep 10 minutes ago. It can't be time to get up already. I smacked the alarm clock with my cast, breaking the hell out of it. The clock that is, not the cast. At least this cast is good for one thing. Breaking shit. I reached for Yints, but couldn't feel her. "Good morning, my love," Yints said cheerily as she walked into the room in her robe with 2 cups of coffee. I opened one eye and groaned at her. "Someone said I shouldn't wake up grumpy, so I let you sleep in," Yints teased. I opened the other eye and croaked, "Coffee, please." She handed me a cup and sat on the bed beside me watching me closely as I took my first sip. Ah, what a girl. It was the perfect temperature. I gave my attention to slurping the hot black elixir, feeling the caffeine course through my system and chase the fatigue away. Finally, I looked at Yince and smiled. Thanks, I really needed that. I almost laughed because she still looked like a raccoon. She smiled, but then her brow wrinkled and she looked into my eyes. Ben, I'm so worried about you this morning. I know you didn't sleep well last night. You were tossing and turning all night long. And now you're blocking your feelings from me. I've gotten so used to being in touch with your feelings, when I can't do it, it's like I'm going through narcotic withdrawals. Do you want to talk about it? I looked at her. How in the hell could I explain to her what kept me awake last night when I wasn't sure myself? I opened my mouth to speak, but closed it again. Tried the same thing 3 more times. Yince giggled, trying to lighten my mood. Are you pretending to be a fish? Because if you are, it's a great imitation. It worked. We both started laughing and almost spilled our coffee. She took the cups and sat them on the nightstand and crawled into bed, pulling me down beside her. She gazed deep into my eyes, and I could feel her trying to penetrate my soul. Finally, she punched me in the arm. Damn it. Stop blocking me and let me feel you. I wish that I could, my love. But I'm not sure that I can right now, I replied and looked away. She punched my arm again, this time harder. Hey, what sort of shit is this? First you block your feelings, now you can't even look me in the eyes? I wrestled with it in my mind. If I did this, things would never be the same. I had never let anyone see this part of me. What if I let her see it, and she hated me for it? I couldn't live if I lost her. Yince kept trying to feel me, and I kept blocking her. Finally, she got pissed off and barked at me. What are you afraid of letting me find out? Damn it. Why won't you let me be close to you again? First you wake up grumpy as an old bear and break the alarm clock. Now you're acting like a damn turtle that is pulled inside its shell. You're so frustrating sometimes. Just when I think we're getting close, you pull this shit on me. She glared at me, and anger and hurt took turns on her face. She looked so much like she was going to slap the hell out of me that I almost flinched. She just kept looking at me, and then her expression changed. Her lower lip started quivering as she said to me, remember? In for a penny? Shit. Now I'm going to make her cry. Damn it to hell. I hate it when she cries. I took a deep breath and let it out in resignation. And for a pound, I'd come this far with Yince. I needed to trust her and go all the way. God, I hope I'm doing the right thing. I hugged her tight and let down all my defenses. Yince looked relieved that she could finally feel me at me. I was exhausted, but I heard her mumble as I drifted off. Shit, isn't this just like a man? You finally get what you want out of them, and they fall asleep. Well, my love, at least I can feel you now. The next thing I remember, Yince was lightly kissing me on the eyes to wake me up. Damn, I barely remembered falling asleep. I was so tired. Then I remembered her words and felt a sharp stab of alarm. Shit, I stopped blocking her from feeling me. But after the initial fear, I realized she was still there and she was still kissing me. I guess I didn't scare her off. I still don't know what the hell happened to me, but at least I feel better knowing that whatever it was, Yince didn't leave me. Wake up, my lovely dark-haired man. It's time to eat a quick breakfast and head over to the competition. The love in Yince's voice filled me with joy. I smiled and opened my eyes. She was beaming at me. Sorry I fell asleep, I mumbled. I was really tired. Don't worry about it. It was all my fault that you couldn't sleep. I'd love to stay here in bed with you and talk about it, but we need to get moving. Don't worry, though. We'll discuss this tonight. Yince answered. Oh great. Not another night without sleep. Don't worry, my dear. I'm sure you'll sleep tonight. But I might not. Yince said. Yes, it was back. She could feel my feelings. It wasn't quite as scary this time, but it's a tough thing to get used to. I nuzzled her hand and kissed it. So while I was asleep, you were wandering around in my mind. Should I be worried? The only worries that you should have is not becoming totally spoiled. Because I'm going to treat you like a king for the next 70 or 80 years of our lives together, Yince declared. Damn, she confuses the hell out of me. I know that I confuse you, my love, and it's all my fault. I'm going to change that, and we'll talk about it tonight. But we really have to get moving. Yince jumped up and helped me out of bed. I did feel better, and Yince seemed even better than her old self. She was happy and excited and dancing around as we went into the kitchen for a quick breakfast of yogurt and coffee. We humped the gear out to the Humvee. Yince didn't even argue with me when I helped. She looked at me and said, I've asked you not to do anything that will hurt your arm. And I know you'll listen to me. We're a team, and if either one of us needs help, we ask each other. And before you say or think it, yes, I know I confuse you. The drive to the training area was uneventful with our escort following us. They sure paid a lot more attention since my fight with the bikers. I heard the general chewed some, but and sent some Marines packing to Thule. Rumor had it that if anyone screwed up again, there were even worse assignments waiting for them. Finally, at the training area, we took the weapons to the RSO table so that they could be fitted with the sniper simulation system. Security was tight. They didn't want any accidents on the last day of the competition. Jens had a big lead over the second-place Canadians, but today's competition was worth 50 points. Damn, if she could have won the martial arts yesterday, it would have been all over. We had run some scenarios on her computer, but there were too many variables to get consistent results. We would just have to get it done the old-fashioned way. Hunt or be hunted. It was Jens's competition and Jens's call. She decided that we would hunt. Rather than wait around for snipers to come to us, we would be actively hunting for them. It was the right decision, and I was proud of Jens for making it. Our goal was to find the damned Canucks and kill them without being killed ourselves. Here are the rules of engagement for the day's competition. The top 10 teams were going to be dropped in different parts of the training area by helicopters. No one in the competition knew where the others were going to be. The last team standing won the 50 points. The other teams won decreasing points for lower places. If the Canadians won the snipe off, and we came in lower than third place, they would win the trophy. While her rifles were getting set up, I took her over to the side to talk to her. We can win this today. We need to be smart and careful. Yes, my love, I know. The Canucks are good snipers, but terrible hunters. They're going to hunker down and wait for teams to come to them, Jens said. I went on to tell her some information about the Canucks that she didn't know. I told her the sounds that they made, and that we would be able to hear with our bionic ears. When I was done, Jens said, "Damn, you never cease to amaze me. We need to figure out some way to get all this data from your head into a computer." "Oh no, I'm not going to let you put any of my information into your square-headed boyfriend. You spend enough time with him already," I answered. "Are you jealous?" She teased. "What would you say if I answered yes?" I challenged, arching a brow. "I'd tell you that you don't have to worry. I'd much rather push your buttons," Jens answered. "Shit, you do that all the time right now," I grumped, giving her a sidelong glance. "Don't give me that grumpy crap. I can tell when you're trying to yank my chain," Jens replied. I smiled. "Damn, I can't put anything over on you." "That's right. And don't forget it." Jens smiled back. The RSO was done with Jens's rifles, so we grabbed our gear and climbed aboard the chopper. My luck held out. Our drop site was close to our original Alpha location, the one from our training exercise with the retired BG. It was the highest mountain in the training area. We couldn't move until all the teams were dropped, but we didn't waste time. We put on our bionic ears, tactical radios, ghillie suits, and face paint. I started scanning the area to make sure no one else was close. When I was satisfied that we weren't a target, I relaxed. I guess I relaxed a bit too much. Jens woke me up. "Hey, sleepyhead. The competition has started." I looked over at her. "Damn, you look beautiful. I love a woman in face paint and a ghillie suit." That comment earned me a huge smile. The contrast between the dark face paint and Jens' white teeth was brilliant. "Well, since we're so close to the top of the hill, I think we need to change strategies. Let's get to the top and check things out," Jens ordered. After reaching the top of the hill, we hunkered down and I did my job, pulling out the spotting scope and scanning the entire training area. I wasn't looking for snipers. I knew that we were all wearing ghillie suits. I was looking for movement or something that looked out of place. Jens had set up her 98 Bravo just in case we got lucky and there were any close targets. "Jens," I said, "look at the main entrance and tell me what you see." She took a look and replied, "There are a couple new bushes that weren't there before." "Wait, they're moving. That's one team. Can you tell which team?" I kept watching them and finally said, "Yep, it's your favorite competitor, the Mossad team." I really wanted to find the Canadians, so I kept scanning. Because we had been spent so much time in the training area, we knew it very well. I knew that the Canadians would most likely be trying to find high ground close to a trail where they could wait for passing teams. I was scanning the distance while Jens was keeping an eye on the local area. Finally, I saw something that looked promising and zoomed in the scope. "Jens, I think I found them." I read off the degrees and elevation. She moved her rifle to look at the target, and I took over her job scanning the local area. Jens watched them for a bit. "That is a team. Why do you think it's the Canadians?" I told her the idiosyncrasies of the team she was observing and how it fit what I know about the Canadian team. She watched them a while longer and agreed with what I saw. "Let's go get them," I replied, "but I think we should take out this team coming up the hill first." I was so proud of Jens. Instead of reacting by moving, she froze and whispered, "Range me, my love." I slowly moved the spotting scope around to our targets and reported, "Right target is the sniper. Range, 875 meters, elevation, -30, wind, 4 at 185. Jens had the BORS system on her 98 Bravo. She cranked the range knob to 875 and adjusted the windage, slowly moved and acquired her target, and took one shot and then the second shot. The sniper and the spotter were dead. Good shooting, my girl. I'm proud of you. 1 down and 8 to go, I said. I couldn't have done it without your spotting. We make a damn good team. Jens replied. We had drawn first blood, but now our position was compromised and we had to move. But before we moved, I needed to make sure there weren't other teams in the area. We were just getting ready to move when I saw a flash of light. Freeze, and don't move, I ordered. I scanned the area where I saw the flash. Then I saw it again. Shit, it's another team. I guess this hill is popular today. We watched as the team kept heading up the hill. This didn't make sense. They weren't moving like snipers, and weren't even trying to conceal themselves. Jens, something isn't right here, I said. You're right. It's like they're not even trying to hide. Let's shoot these idiots and be done with it, she answered. What if they're civilians? I worried. Well, this isn't live ammo, so it's not like we will kill them. Jens replied exactly as I would have. We waited, and when they got close enough, I ranged her. Range, 925 meters, elevation, -34, wind, 4 at 185. She made the adjustments and fired 2 shots. Nothing happened. No tactical vests went off. Shit, did I miss them? Not at that range, you didn't, I replied, starting to feel nervous. Then all hell broke loose. Several live rounds hit close to us. Son of a bitch. That's live fire from a Russian SV-98. I exclaimed and reached for my tactical radio. I pressed the radio button to make the emergency call reporting live fire in the training area and got nothing. The tactical radios were jammed. I looked over the top of the hill, and the scumsuckers were still coming. They were both shooting. Ben, I didn't bring the Kimbers and real ammo today. I never figured we would need it, Jens said, horror seeping into her voice. I pulled out my caber, glanced over at Jens, and started cutting off my cast. Don't give me any shit about this. She didn't. In fact, she crawled over close to me and helped, making sure not to cut my arm. It felt good to have my arm out of the cast. I flexed it a couple times. It was stiff, but I could use it. Then I reached in my pocket and pulled out 2 cartridges, 1.338 Lapua and 1.338 Whisper, and held them up. Dad taught me, you always keep 1 round in your pocket. I scrambled in my pack and started pulling out tools to remove the sniper simulation system. My heart was beating a mile a minute as I worked. If we didn't hurry, they would be here before we could get the rifles serviceable. They were firing the whole time, and the shots were getting closer. I was getting ready to order Jens out of the training area. She felt what I was going to do and warned, don't you dare order me out of the training area. We fight as a team. We die as a team. It was frustrating, but it felt good. It also felt heavy. I got the system loose on the 98 Bravo and threw Jens the tools. She started working on the M4 Whisper. I was ready and ordered, let me know when you're ready. We've got to get both these scumsuckers at once. Jens kept working on the M4 while the shots grew closer. She was almost done when a round hit my spotting scope. We both jumped. That was too close. Ready, Jens shouted. I'll take the left. You take the right, I commanded. We were just getting ready to fire when a round hit the M4. Luckily, Jens wasn't hurt, but she was sure spooked. Shit, shit, shit. The M4's toast. Jens cried. Jens, this is an order. Drop all your gear and scoot back. When I fire, you'll have some time to run. Wait until the guy I don't kill stops firing, then head north and get the hell out of here. I'll jump up and head south. If we're lucky, at least one of us will make it. You can court-martial me when this is over, but I'm not going to leave you. We're both going to run to the south because it's downhill, Jens barked at me. There was no more time to argue. The scumsuckers were closing in. I estimated the range and made the scope adjustments. I looked over at Jens and said, I love you. Looked back, lined up the scope, and took the shot. All the shooting stopped, and we jumped up and started running to the south. The silence lasted about 10 seconds, and then the shooting continued. Damn. We were almost to the trees when I felt a round graze my upper back. It felt like someone had taken a red-hot fireplace poker and seared my flesh. The force of the round made me stumble and fall. Jen slowed up. I jumped up and barked at her. Jens, move your butt. We need to get into the trees. We made it to tree line and kept running, not slowing up. I could feel the sticky wetness spreading across my back and starting to seep down into my pants, but we needed to keep going. I lost track of how long and how far we ran, but it was far enough that we didn't hear any shooting. Jens stopped running and turned around in the trail. How bad is it? Don't worry, it's only a mosquito bite, I replied. Listen, jarhead. I've told you once not to lie to me about shit like this. I can feel your pain, and I know it's more than a mosquito bite. Jens spat. Turn around and let me see it. I turned around, and she started crying. Shit, your whole back is covered with blood. Even your pants. She ran over to me to hug me. I started feeling lightheaded and dizzy. First my vision went red and then started going black, and then the trees slipped away. The cave filled with the sweet-smelling smoke of burning sage grass, the type that had been used to cleanse my Cherokee ancestors for thousands of years. I breathed deeply, letting it bring back the memories of the days of my youth and campfires with my father. Then I heard the drums, beating out the heartbeat of the Indian nation, and finally I saw the immortal drum circle of the Great Ones, the great warriors of the Indian nations for thousands of years, all lifting up their voices as one and praising the Great Spirit. Finally, out of the center of the circle came a great black wolf, huge in stature. Somehow, I knew he was my spiritual guide. He walked up to me and I heard him say, "Ben and Nali, Wolf, you have been chosen to fight a great battle, a battle to rid the world of a terrible evil that threatens to destroy it. This battle will not be an easy battle for you, and you will suffer many losses. You will lose some things that you cherish and care for the most. There will come a time when you will feel that all is lost and that you have failed. When that time comes, you will find strength from one who is weak. Then, use your wisdom and training and overcome that which holds you down. We cannot help you physically. We are but dust in the wind. But we can give these words to you. Do not give up. You are the only one who can stop the coming destruction. Do whatever you need to do to prevent it. We leave you now, but know that if you are willing to pay the price, you can conquer anything." I slowly opened my eyes in the hospital. Holy shit. What sort of crap was that? I'm not sure if that was a dream or a vision. Damn, that seemed real. It almost seems like I can still smell the sage. I hope I'm not going crazy. Dear listeners, this is a multi-part story, and we will be releasing it weekly on every Monday. The next part is planned for release next week. Until then, please share your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.